this is from the Switch version of Starlink, because I think it came to all platforms, right? But the Switch
Yes.
version had the Star Fox missions, which I played, I had fun with it. I don't really know why I didn't keep going. I just kind of fell off of it. But I always love this thing. It's one of my favorite little like toy things. And I actually do remember putting the little Joy-Cons in the spots here
Oh
and
yeah.
actually like playing. And then if you remove the parts, it like reads it on the game. Like,
Oh really?
yeah,
Dude,
yeah,
that's actually pretty rad.
that was pretty cool. So like these missiles, these whatever these blue missiles are, and then whatever this red grapple thing is, like those were actual weapons in the game. That
Dude, remember that whole like little period there of like
toys to
toys and
life.
games? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a thing. Hey Gaston, remember when Spyro and all that was happening? Huh? Huh? Skylanders, right? Huh?
I actually didn't mind Disney Infinity, and of course they went on to make.
Hmm.
We talked about this. What was it that they made that we really liked? I'm
Oh, that
blanking.
studio.
Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Hogwarts.
They went on to make
Yeah.
Hogwarts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like Disney Infinity captured some pretty fun things, I thought, even though it wasn't an
Yeah.
amazing game. But man, Hogwarts, it was almost like they kind of found their groove, in the right way with the right IP. Oh,
Hmm.
so good.
Yeah, you
Anyway,
can't really do much with Disney. I mean, that IP's whatever. There's not much going on there. So
yeah, there's not much to work with.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah. All right,
Slim
well, that's a good
pickings.
opening for episode 216. I'm Tim here with Dan and Jeff. I don't think Kyle's in
Hey.
for this week. I think he's out, but that guy works or something. Like he has a job and makes money.
I think he said something specifically like "I hate you guys, f you." But he said the
It
word.
was. You're right. It was that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
F
I couldn't
you.
remember, but you're right. That was the
Yeah.
general vibe.
Yeah.
That,
I was
and
like,
then
wow,
he,
Kyle.
classic Kyle.
Yeah.
Classic.
He went heel, like The Rock recently has came back and has become a heel.
Know your
Kyle-
role. Shut
Kyle
your
the final
mouth.
boss? Is Kyle the final boss? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Kyle's always been the final boss.
Jeff doesn't like that.
Now his introduction is just going to be like dark, and then there's lightning, and then he's just going to pop up under a spotlight.
Yeah, and then it's gonna be like a slower, kind of rockier version of his original theme song. Yeah, I get it.
God, I love wrestling so much. It's a fun time.
It really can be the best, man. And
Yeah.
YouTube knows that I'll watch almost any throwback clip or even some, more recent things, even if it's stuff that I've missed over the years. Like I didn't really get to see the Randy Orton and John Cena type runs. I saw bits and pieces, but I didn't really watch them. So YouTube, it's almost like it knows it, and it like will show me top 10 John Cena moments. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll watch these. I have a problem.
You'll watch them, but you can't see anything because you can't see John
there.
Cena. Yeah, he's not there. So
clearly,
you're like,
Again,
wait, I don't see anything.
That's just science. That's not any of us saying that's just science.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could ask Neil deGrasse Tyson about that, I'm sure.
Yep.
And he would be like, you can't see him because he's not there. It's John Cena.
The light is reflecting off of his flesh in a way because it's like a mirror because he's shiny, right? Because wrestlers are always shiny, right? So the light's reflecting.
Baby oil.
Yeah.
Very true.
Baby oil. Baby oil. I'm apparently going to talk with a Swedish accent or some shit tonight.
What?
I had a few drinks before I came on, so it's going to be a fun time. And I took a Delta 8 gummy that our Attorney General is generously trying to ban. So that's great. But I took one of those, so you're going to see a descent into Jeff Madness on this episode. It'll be fun.
Hey, it's just another step towards that Civil War. Thanks, Texas.
Yeah, that's going to trigger it too. Is Delta 8 and Delta 9 gummies or whatever the hell.
Yeah, they're like, listen, things like guns, abortion, hot buttons, I guess, but
man.
Delta 8 and 9s.
I'm okay with you stomping on quote unquote women's rights, but the minute you try to stomp on the rights of people with anxiety, just kidding.
That's going to be a YouTube short. I haven't done those for a while, so that's going to be there. You're welcome, Jeff. I hope none of your employers watch this.
I meant to make that like a Britta on Community where she's like, I can excuse racism, but I draw the line at, what did she say? I can't remember the line.
I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah. And like now it's like a meme where Shirley's like, you can excuse racism. It's so funny. Oh, man. I love that show so much.
Community, that might be ripe for a rewatch maybe this summer, just in the back. Now that I've actually sat and watched all of it, and I enjoyed so much more of it than I thought I would. I thought I would really kind of taper off.
You'd be like, oh, here's the weak season. I don't think I need to finish this.
Yeah, but no, I still stayed tuned in. Even when it wasn't as strong, I was still like, it's still so fun and clever though. Like, not unlike stuff like The Office and Parks and Rec, where even in their weaker moments, which admittedly they have their valleys here and there, I'm still all in. So that's how I felt with Community. You know, you were very right about Modern Family. I feel like I got 5 seasons in, and I just haven't been interested to keep going. I've really enjoyed the setup, the setting, the families. The actors are so funny, but you know, I feel like I kind of know what the punchlines are going to be before they say them.
Right. Phil is great though. Like Phil.
Oh,
is
definitely. But like at a certain point, like 6 seasons in or however many, everybody's got a different threshold, I think. Because I don't know anybody in my personal life. This is anecdotal. I don't know anybody in my personal life that had finished that show. Like I don't. Like all of us kind of dropped off
or something.
Oh, Dan, I know Dan. One of 3.
My wife and I did finish. Yes.
My wife has watched all of it. She loves it. My own watch through somewhere in season 5, you know.
Some shows just they go too long.
Yeah, and also the rhythm of each storyline is like obvious. Like, oh, like Cam's going to be dramatic about this thing, so whatever. Like then Mitch has to calm him down or whatever.
But it's still funny. Like when it's on,
still funny,
I don't mind watching it when it's on. I just don't feel compelled to like go out of my way to set it up as my show to watch.
And you can even kind of predict because you watch the show so much. You can predict like what the jokes are going to be that Phil says, and that's like the worst part because that was always the surprise part to me was like the things that he would say that are ignorant. And you're like, wow, that's hilarious.
Well, the number of double entendres that guy just vomits out all the time is hilarious. Like the whole thing with him and Matthew Broderick still makes me giggle. Like when Matthew Broderick was playing a gay guy at a gym that meets Phil, and then they go back to watch the game together. Phil thinks he found a buddy who he went, you know, when they went to the same college, and they're going to go watch the game. And Matthew Broderick thinks he's on a date with the gay guy who happens to be married, and everything Phil says and does, whether accidental or on purpose,
he's like Michael Scott with a family, basically,
dude.
More or less what he is. Yeah,
but that episode was so like cleverly done. They set it up at the beginning with him trying to fiddle with the house controls with his iPad and getting the fireplace and the music and the lighting, and he accidentally sets it up to be real romantic like this. As soon as Matthew Broderick sits down, he's like, "Oh," like it's just very funny. They do a good job with that. Anyway, all that to say, Community, awesome. Modern Family, also great. pretty great.
Pretty great for several years. Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty great.
And Gloria, I already forget her name. The actress, she's so funny.
Sofia Vergara.
Yeah,
Vergara. Yeah.
She leaned into that like stereotype of her role, but really, made it endearing too. Like she did a really good job. She did.
I agree.
It works.
It's just
like a fine wine as well.
I mean, honestly, everybody was perfectly cast in that show. Like, I can't even point to one person. Maybe some of the child actors grew up to not be as good actors. Like, I mean, that's the only complaint you could possibly make. But even then,
the oldest girl's pretty good, and she's actually a really good singer too. I've seen her do some of the singing stuff.
I did not know that.
The oldest daughter, the dumb one.
That's kind of annoying when they can do more than one thing. It's really annoying.
I know she had like health issues there.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, she had like some kind of like health issues that pertain to her weight, and then there was all that. You know, there's always that thing with women. It's like, well, you got to be skinny, and then people are like, but now you're being too skinny, and blah blah blah.
Well, you got to be healthy. What are you doing? You got to be healthy. Pick a lane, people.
Yeah, exactly.
For real.
Yeah. No, I feel for those child actors. Anyway. All right, well, let's get out of current TV, guys. Let's get out of current sitcoms, actually, more specifically.
Coming soon.
Current sitcoms.
Current sitcoms.
The YouTube channel.
I think I might actually watch that show if we ever made it. Current sitcom sounds pretty fun.
Yeah. There's a lot to choose from. I mean,
I know.
I'm still plowing through Cheers. It's a great show. I mean,
oh wow, Cheers, huh?
Yeah,
Cheers is great.
I never did watch Cheers. I've seen the odd episode here and there, right, when reruns are on. But I never did watch Cheers.
I watched like three seasons or 2 seasons so far.
Or Frasier. My wife's a huge fan of Frasier. She's watched all of Frasier, and I never got into that one either. But it is clever. You just have to kind of be in the right state of mind to watch this Kelsey Grammer style of almost proper humor, but not really. I don't know. It's interesting. Proper is maybe the wrong word.
Yeah, that's like what he's trying to do, though, is, you know, he's like the pretentious character, and everybody is reacting to that. Like, like this guy is so up his ass. It's crazy.
Yeah. But he does a good job with it.
A regular person at all.
That's why he was a great beast. I thought.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He was beast.
Yeah.
He was beast.
He was beast. They painted him blue.
They did.
They blew him. Okay, so let's. All right,
let's
talk about a couple of new gaming things that hit this week. I mean, there was There were several, but really only two things that I think are of interest to the crew here. First of all, did anyone play the new DLC, The Rising Tide for Final Fantasy 16? Did either of you play
Final Fantasy's dumb.
I bought it and it's installed. That's
okay.
the most I'm willing to progress on it so far.
Yeah, that's a progress.
Farther than me.
That's farther than I am. I haven't purchased
Yeah,
it.
Dan's the fake fan over here. I'm the one that's like this. When I said this is my game of the year, I meant it.
Listen,
so
I'm busy traversing the wastelands from 9 years ago. Okay.
9-year-old wastelands.
Yeah, I'm busy.
Hey, I am the last person to criticize or make fun of anyone for revisiting an old game. I get so lost in old games again. Like I'll just kind of get the itch and go back and then get stuck for a while. So Fallout makes sense, of course, with the TV show being out. We talked about that last week too.
The itch is strong.
Mm-hmm. And I think the overall player count for Fallout, last time we talked about a little bit, but it's been confirmed this week for 3, 4, and 76. It's just
the sales went up. They're like,
sales went up. The player counts up. People are loving it. So I think that's cool. So I don't blame you at all for that. All right, so none of us have any thoughts on the Rising Tide DLC, but it is out. I know there's a big water snake, Leviathan.
It's Leviathan, the water snake. Yep, he's in there.
The water snake.
Water snake is in there. He's doing watery things.
Yeah. He's probably Slytherin at some point.
Right. Yeah. Much like Hogwarts, the reference there, we're connecting the two things.
Thank you. So I'm going to assume there's some water involved.
Perhaps.
And the water, go with me, it rises. So.
Right. And creates tides.
Yeah. So there's your impressions of the DLC for Final Fantasy 16, folks. You're welcome. The other new game that came out, and it's only in early access. It's a game that will hit all consoles and be a full release at some point. I think this year. But No Rest for the Wicked is out in early access on Steam. It is certainly an early access game. Oh, by the way, this is by Moon Studios.
Oh, not Cage the Elephant? No, it's not by Cage the No? Okay.
It is.
All right, just making sure.
Yeah. Confirmed. Okay. It's by the folks who made the Ori games, and the music and the visuals, in my opinion, very much live up to the pedigree they've set. I love both of the Ori games. I think they're gorgeous. I think they're fun. They tell really compelling stories. And I think they're hitting a lot of those marks here. I'm not saying it's going to be a classic. Like, I think both Ori games are kind of classic platform adventure games that'll stand the test of time. I'm not saying I can already declare that this will. I don't know. But so far, they're really checking a lot of the boxes. The visuals are great. The story is really intriguing. The music's wonderful. So yeah, they did a really good job with the world they've built. But it's definitely early access. So for example, even just loading the game up can take forever. And I don't know if it's like the game's just not super optimized for quick loading. Even on my SSD, even when I'm using my SSD, it's just taking forever to load. I don't know exactly what the issue is. If it's just my computer is finally starting to feel its age, I don't know exactly what it is, but it takes a while to load up, and then once it does load up, it does take a minute for my system to like play it smoothly. Like when I first start to move in the world, the FPS drops to like 5, and it kind of like jitters for a little bit, and it's early access. It's early access
as advertised.
As advertised. So, but I've got mostly positive experiences though with the actual game itself. Like when you can kind of push past the technical issues, knowing that those are more than likely temporary, and when you can kind of push back the technical issues, I think the core gameplay is excellent. Like I really, really like it, and I know we say this a lot as we all end up loving different games sometimes. We'll all come together for a game like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and we'll all really enjoy it, or 16 from last year, or Spider-Man 2. But then, other than those big benchmark games, I feel like this is a good example of one that maybe one or two of us will really get into. And the other ones, I can't guarantee that you would like it if you played it. But man, I think it's great. I think the upgrade system is awesome. So it's an isometric action RPG. You move a little more slowly with a little more purpose, and it is difficult, which is why it's gotten this moniker and why the devs called it Souls-like, because of the difficulty of it and how each hit or block or parry attempt matters, this precision combat element. And so that's where it kind of gets its Souls-like comparison. Otherwise, a lot of the gameplay mechanics are not like a Souls game. The punishment for dying is just your gear takes a little bit of a hit on its durability, and you just go repair it at the blacksmith. So that's pretty straightforward. You don't lose any experience or anything like that. You don't have to go back to where you died and defeat that enemy. Otherwise, you lose whatever. Like none of those punishment elements are there. I've only fought 2 bosses that had the health bars. Neither one of them are very hard. So like I have actually found exploring in the world when I accidentally pull 2, really if it's more than 2, but if it's 2 strong enemies or even 3 weaker enemies, that's really tough. Like it's a hard game to take on a big group of enemies at the same time. So like that's where I feel like
there's going to be upgrades to move around more quickly or potentially.
Oh yeah, you could. I can move around fast, but there's a stamina bar, and so like, and you start with pretty low set of stats, and as you level up, you get 3 attribute points every time you level up that you can put into different stats. So if you want to move faster, you want to swing harder, you want to carry more equipment, like to wear heavier armor, all that kind of stuff. If you want to pick a stat to scale up with whatever weapon you're using, you start scaling that, strength or intelligence or dexterity. So yeah, it's got those elements to it where you can specialize if you want to, get more health, more stamina. So, but yeah, when you start running around in combat and rolling and parrying and blocking, it's an interesting combination. It can feel fast at times, and your reaction speed needs to be quick, but then it can also feel, especially when your stamina bar runs out, I think it has a heaviness to it that some people will like and some people won't, but I kind of like it. It makes every hit and every dodge feel important. But I don't feel like the game is cheating me when I die or when I take a really hard hit and have to, run away and heal. I usually know like, all right, that was me. I was really careless there, or I got selfish. I tried to go for that 4th hit when I should have just dodged back after the 3rd one. So that's where it certainly earns its, Souls-like moniker. I just feel like in so many other the game mechanics are not like a Souls game. Some of it almost has I love the combination of pieces. Some of it has I almost said survival. That's the wrong word. There's a lot of materials you can collect to upgrade things. So there's a lot of upgrade systems. You can upgrade the town. You can help upgrade each shop, which then it unlocks more gear you can purchase or craft or whatever. So you got this town of Sacrament that you're trying to upgrade, and this very colorful cast of characters, really interesting characters that are all really well voice acted. I think you guys would appreciate that. A lot of really good voice acting that they gathered for this, and the animation matches up with the voices. I feel like it's the first time since like Spider-Man that I've seen a game do that, where it like actually, oh yeah, their mouths match up. That's cool. That's good. So yeah, the animation is awesome. Almost reminds me of Arcane a bit. The cutscenes with the way that the styles look.
Like the actual whatever style they're going for with the visuals are really really good. There's just something really like high quality about it and like unique and painteresque and just whatever, like just very meticulous, like getting their hands in there, like it just it's like drawn or painted, like whatever, like something unique along the lines of that. It just has that going for it. I think Arcane's a good comparison.
Yeah, like oil painting meets hand drawn, but also really high res digital rendering. I don't know. It's a weird and cool combination of those things. But you can tell there's a lot of details in the world, and they do a lot of depth of field, which is awesome. But that can really tax the system, and I think that's part of the early access is trying to optimize this across a variety of platforms. And I can hear my system start working sometimes with this game, it's getting warm in my room here when I start playing it for more than an hour. The heat, it gets hot. So yeah, there's some optimization that they need to do on the technical side. But the depth of field is so cool with this thing. You could be up on a bridge and you're overlooking. You can see there's actually a campfire down there with 2 enemies that are patrolling. Now, if you try to jump down there, you're going to die. There's a lot of fall damage, so you have to be really careful with how you navigate. And this is something that I think is really cool about the game. It has a ton of verticality to it. I love exploring in these games. It's one of my favorite things about Elden Ring and Zelda. Like I love exploring, poking around, finding this. Oh, there's a doorway over here. What's behind here? Oh, there's an enemy. There's a treasure chest behind them. Oh, and especially if it's something valuable and helpful. And so this is done. I think has great exploration, a great reason to explore. So yeah, I really enjoyed that part too. And yeah, just opening up the map, finding the fast travel points The weapons are super cool. You can do anything from like these fast moving daggers where you're really rolling around and just slicing as fast as you can for smaller damage but quick. And then I now am using this two-handed sword I got from the first boss, and I upgraded it, and it's really, really strong right now. And it's a slow swing. I mean, you're gonna take a hit, at least one hit while you swing because it's just the wind up is so slow. But I'm almost one hitting every main enemy now, not the bosses. Like it's so powerful. I'm fine with taking some damage because I'm just like, it just feels really satisfying. And it also curses them, so they like their health starts to deplete little by little after the hit. Very, very satisfying. But yeah, I've tried a few other things with sword and board. I tried with the blocking and the parrying. I think that system works pretty well once you get the patterns down. Yeah, there's a lot to really like about this. I also really like the story isn't necessarily groundbreaking, but I'm interested in the lore of like what you're trying to do, what's wrong with this place. There's this curse that's happened, and these people are all being turned into these like not really zombies, but like these monstrous versions of who they used to be. And so yeah, you're there to try to help solve it. So yeah, overall, I really like it, and it's a really cool game. And I think once they optimize it and get out on console, I think people are going to really dig it. So yeah, I like.
Is there are you playing a specific character? I'm sorry if you had mentioned it, or are you?
No, it's a created character. You can create a male or female, and everyone kind of looks like chimps with their arm length. Maybe even more like orangutans. I don't know what the right description is. It's a very interesting character model. It's kind of very funny looking when you're creating them because on the character screen they're just standing there in their undies like in most character creators, and you're trying to pick the body sizes. And I'm like, why do I look like a skinny Wreck-It Ralph? Like, what is happening with this character? It's very strange. But I'm very used to it now. Part of me thinks this actually could have been a cool game if they had decided to do a Planet of the Apes style where everyone actually is just chimpanzees because they kind of look like it already. I was like, that could have worked. A dark, like fantastical thing where everyone's apes. That could have been interesting, but whatever. They didn't do that. But that's what it feels like when you see some of the characters. But now I'm used to it. Not all the character models are that obviously like long-limbed and kind of weirdly, I don't know, proportioned. Some of them look much more normal as you get into the lore a little bit more. So yeah, and there's definitely some stuff with the medieval royalty and the church coming in to try to take things over and solve everything, but clearly there's some nefarious things happening from their equivalent of the old Roman Catholic style church that's in it for power. And so there's a lot of intrigue there that I'm kind of like, ooh, what's going to happen? And what am I like? So I like the story. I think the gameplay is fun. It looks great. Exploring's fun. It's not something that I'd recommend to everyone right out of the gate, but once it gets optimized and hits consoles, I probably would recommend people at least try it, especially if it ends up, being a PS Plus or Game Pass game, which I don't know that it will. I think it's $40 on Steam right now. It's 35 on sale for early access, so it's certainly not like an impulse buy, like when you're on the Steam store and you're like, "That's $7, I'll grab that." It's not that, it's a little more pricey, but crazy.
The early access thing, I didn't even know they were doing it as early access. These games, like it would like, oh, early, okay, sure. I guess I just always kind of am a little, I don't know, skeptical. I guess, or I don't know, just like maybe I'm just old fashioned, and I'm just like, listen, like I'm fine with you not releasing anything until this thing is done. Like, please, like just work on it. Do the testing you need to do in the background as what I think is a normal development thing, and then just release the thing. Like, I don't know, but I'm old fashioned like that. I just,
No, I get it. I think there's some value to that. I think we saw the value of doing early access and actually using it as a beta of sorts with Baldur's Gate 3, of course.
Yep.
Which was like one of the most popular test cases for this. And there's plenty of other examples. I don't know. There's probably hundreds, maybe thousands of examples of games that are kickstarted or launched as early access that then just essentially get abandoned. I've heard all kinds of stories about a lot of abandoned games that it's like the developers forgot that it wasn't fully released yet, and their supporters and players are like, when's 1.0? Like, is this game ever going to actually come out? And they're like, no, we already released it. Early access, that's fine.
Yeah,
so when used properly, I think it's. I think it can be really a beneficial thing. I think this will end up benefiting Moon Studios, and it's published by Private Division. I think they'll benefit from having the optimization and the feedback. They put out a patch already. Within 24 hours, they put out their first patch, fixing a whole bunch of bugs and issues. They adjusted like the cost of repairing. They got a lot of complaints about that and realized, all right, that's too rough on people early on. They made the first sword you get, the one I'm using now, they made it usable at a lower level. At first, you had to wait for a while. So they made a whole bunch of adjustments for balancing, but then also a lot of technical improvements. So I like to think they're going to really optimize it, do a great job with it, and then launch it in a really good shape. So yeah, so far so good. I really, really enjoy it. It's really good timing that I'm coming to the end of my time with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because as I wrap that game up, I'm already kind of one full step into the next one. I'm very similar to Kyle, where when I finish a really big game that, this game is going to end up taking me probably 80 hours total, just under 80 hours total for Rebirth. And that you can have a little bit of that hangover where you're like, now what? Do I even want to play anything right now? That was a lot,
What even is life, man?
But if you're already kind of
literally about to say the exact same thing. What is life even?
What is
this?
Yeah.
Put up some new boundaries or something? What do I have to do with myself now? I don't...
But when you're already kind of rolling into something else, it's like, well, the momentum's already there sometimes, and so I think that's the case for me, at least with this one.
Well, again, I'm playing Fallout 4, which can go for 500 hours, so makes no sense.
Very true. So the reviews, I know that the reviews are listed as mixed on Steam, and part of me understands why. I really had trouble getting it to load when I first launched it, and part of me was like, is my connection bad? Or maybe this game is just not optimized for every system. And I thought maybe it was something with my OS. I updated my drivers. I just had to wait for a long time. It probably was like a 7-minute wait of it just loading for it to finally like get to the menu and let me create a character and start the game. So all that took a long time. I don't know if I should maybe just uninstall and reinstall it, see if it moves a little quicker. So I think there's a lot of complaints about that. But other people also I think they look at it. You look at screenshots. You think of Moon Studios with making Ori, very fast-paced, very lightweight feeling character, lots of like bouncing around. And now this character is very grounded and slow. Unless you're running or dodging or something, it can feel slow. And it's difficult. But Ori was difficult too, I thought.
It was.
It was challenging.
I never beat either of those games because I hit a wall at certain points.
They're tough.
They can get challenging.
Yeah. So it's not like Moon Studios is known for making easy games. So part of me, like a lot of people have said that, like, I wanted a Diablo, not another Souls game. And I'm like, I understand what they're saying. They're saying this is tougher than Diablo or other action RPGs. I totally understand that. And if you go in expecting Torchlight or Diablo or one of these, what's that new one that was really popular? Maybe the last
Path of Exile is pretty popular.
Path of Exile. There's the last Epoch, I think, is the.
That sounds familiar.
Oh yeah, that just came out. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's early access, but yes, that is a Diablo type game.
Yeah, I think that's a much more fast moving, and I don't know if it's easy, but I think it's more accessible.
Well, there are world tiers, and at least in Diablo. So at least there's that of like, man, these enemies are just like one hit. What's going on? Increase your world tier as you get better at the game. That type of stuff.
Yeah, that makes
doesn't
sense.
Sound like that's there. It sounds like there's just a baseline difficulty and no rest for the wicked.
Yeah, it's same with what they did with Ori. It's just kind of, here's the game we made. And
sorry
if these jumps are too hard for you. It's too bad.
Hey,
and that's literally what it is. It wasn't even combat. It was just the jumps of like, I don't know if I can do this, man.
Those escape sequences.
I just run out of patience pretty quickly. That's it. It's a me thing, really.
No, I get it.
Absolutely. Do you know what the solution is to all that, though?
Don't
make assumptions about things.
Yeah,
before you even experience it. It's such a massive problem with people playing video games. They just have assumptions and preconceived notions, and then when it just doesn't magically fit their,
Well, you can argue the same thing about, there was a movie we talked about last week called Civil War. You can argue the same thing about that. People having expectations of what they thought the movie was going to do, validate their own political biases or worldviews, and it didn't do any of that. So they were like, well, then it means nothing to me. Okay, well, that's not.
So it means nothing.
That's not what the movie's trying to say. Yeah. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. When you come in with those kind of preconceived notions, it can really affect your enjoyment of a thing. So I think that's at least partial of the reviews.
It would be one thing if they were like pitching it as it's just Diablo, guys. Just pick it up and
They
play it.
didn't.
It's Diablo. But
maybe
they
that's
never
why
said
they
that.
said they use Souls-like, which I know in our chat we've talked back and forth. Like, is it a Souls-like? And just on the difficulty and the way you level up, and some of that and the scaling of weapons, absolutely can see the comparisons to Souls. And actually, it kind of helps a person who's going to step into this game knowing I kind of need to sit up straight and like pay attention and like this. I'm going to have to be on point. Even at the beginning, some of the enemies hit really hard, and so that part feels like a Souls game in some ways, So here's how it's not like a Souls game though. There's no bonfire to go rest at, and everything respawns. That doesn't exist. The only way to heal is to make food, and there's plenty of ingredients to cook food. You find recipes. You can cook better recipes. There's no vials that heal you. You actually just use the meals that you cook, almost Zelda style. You just eat those to heal. Some of them are like regen. Some of them are instant heal. Of course, there's a cook that you can get a mission for to help him out, and then he'll of course help you cook better meals and unlock more recipes. So I like the crafting aspects of it. There's a guy who wants to help rebuild the town, but you need to bring him materials and then tell him which projects to go after first, which stairways to fix. You can fix up the dungeon or the marketplace or your own little castle tower that you're staying in. So there's lots of things that you can improve in the town, lots of upgrades. You can upgrade pretty much every piece of armor and weaponry. I love that stuff. And I have saw some of the criticisms in the user reviews were just kind of like, they don't respect the player's time. They're making you do all this like needless material gathering and town upgrading. This is not what I wanted. So I see that and I'm like, oh, it's just the personal preference of that's not what I want in a game. So I understand that.
Yeah.
But I count those as positives because I think they're done well and I like those things. So
it's fine to have a preference. It's just when you go into something, and again, this like happens all the time. I mean, Final Fantasy is a series that happens all the time. Well, this isn't turn based, so it's the worst thing in the world. Yep. People just they every individual one person out of the billions of people that exist on this planet are like, well, it isn't doing the thing that the one person want. And it's like, well, you're one person, so it doesn't really work that way. But
totally agree. Yeah, so I'm very hopeful that Moon Studios is able to keep rolling out the changes, the improvements that they've promised. I know they want to roll out. Their most recent update was just today, I think.
It seems like they're on top of things. They're like, we gotta fix the stuff. We gotta fix the stuff.
Yeah. So good. I think good call for them. Everything from rendering performance, it looks like, optimizations, balance, visual effects, fog. Yeah, they're working on all of it. So that's great.
Is there any actual info for consoles, or is it just kind of whatever?
We know it's coming to PS5 and Xbox Series X for sure, and the goal is for it to come out this year. That's all I know.
Okay. Cool.
That sounds achievable in my opinion.
I think so. I mean, they got a full game. Like this is not. Yeah. This is a full game that needs polish and QA and like the technical optimization piece. It doesn't need polish in the visuals and the gameplay, in my opinion. Like the game is what it is now. It's like it needs polish in the technical aspects. Like it takes too long to load. It stutters too much at certain times. And the problem with the precision combat system is if it stutters for a second, you could die. Like if it stutters at the wrong moment.
Sure. That would make me like immediately uninstall. Like after if that happened twice, I'd be like, okay, I'm done. I can't do this.
Yeah. So I'm
gonna hold off personally. Like if people are like me, that it's already a tough sell to play a game that's like precision based combat. But if I'm hearing of like technical issues on any level, I'm like, I'll just wait then. You know, either for a sale or for 1.0 proper. Like
What was a nice surprise for me was you're on a ship at the beginning, and then you're walking through, exploring, breaking barrels, which is always fun to see if there's random items in there.
Yes.
And then
I love breaking barrels, dude. Okay, I got to get it now.
You got to break barrels, right?
I love breaking barrels, dude. It's my favorite thing to do in Final Fantasy Rebirth. That's the whole reason I can't beat the game.
There's so many barrels to break in this
game.
So
many barrels and boxes.
Jeff is a big Donkey Kong.
Hey, in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, when they have like the giant piles of breakable boxes, do you get?
Oh my god! And it's like its own mini game or whatever. I'm like, it's Christmas.
Get a little too excited. You're like, what?
Yeah, it's Christmas. Oh, and they have new music for this part too, so it must be a mini game. Yeah,
it's just a potion in there, but I don't even care. I don't even care.
It's just the feeling of like, hit that. Yeah.
They give you like a Moogle medal and a potion. You're like, whatever, I'll take it.
Whatever, I'll take it.
Gimme.
I'll take it. So lots of barrels. But anyway, as you're escaping the ship, you get a basic like one-handed sword and a shield. So it teaches you the basics of how to hold block, and how that affects your stamina. And then if you time a parry at the right time, you can stun them. So what you would expect, I think, in a game like this. I have not used it. I've only used the shield a little bit after that, and I've barely used parry. I pretty much just do a lot of rolling and then just slashing. I'm very aggressive and like attack heavy the way I play. So I'm having a lot of fun treating it like a more aggressive action RPG. I have so much food to use to like heal myself. I don't mind taking some hits in each encounter. And oh, by the way, another reason it's not quite like Souls. There's no bonfire. You don't lose your souls or experience or whatever if you die. You just have durability to your gear. And by the way, they lessened the amount of durability hit that it takes, which is nice. But also, enemies don't respawn. So like if you kill a guy who is guarding the gate, and then it doesn't matter what happens, you could leave the area, come back, his dead body will still be there. Now, when you you go through certain story beats and then have to go back to revisit that area, they've come back in and reset up. There's new enemies there. They've set up new barricades. Like it's kind of like that area has progressed and the enemy's kind of retaken it. And so it's different, but they won't respawn once you kill them. So like I think certain benchmarks in the game will cause an area to refill with some enemies, but they're totally different enemies now. And so like
that's cool. That's actually really cool.
It's a different approach to it. Like I was super annoyed when I died. I thought, great, I got to fight my way all the way through these guys again. And as I'm walking through, there's just dead bodies everywhere. I was like, I already killed these guys.
Yeah.
Nice. I didn't have to do that again.
It's an amazing feeling, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're saying is basically Final Fantasy Rebirth and 16, more or less. And I guess Remake. I can't remember Remake that well, though. Are more Souls-like than No Rest for the Wicked. Because they spawn enemies.
They do respawn.
After like a few minutes, it's like, oh, yeah. I already killed that thing. It's there.
Everything's a Souls game.
Everything's a Souls game.
If the bench on Remake is close enough, I'll kill him. And then there are so many fights where I'm like, how did I take that much damage in this fight? It's just so stupid. So I'll run back, I'll quick sit on the bench, and then run back past
That's
them.
me and all of like there were like 4 or 5 no, maybe 4. I'm being a little too generous. Boss fights back to back in chapter 12. Yeah. And I was like, how did that do that much damage on me? That was a short fight on easy mode. This makes no sense. How did that happen? It was like that one hit that I just forgot to block or dodge. And that's all it takes sometimes. You're halfway down.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah, it happens. It can
I totally
if you're not paying
agree.
attention, it happens.
Yeah, the 2 bosses I fought so far, the designs were awesome. One looked like he was straight out of Bloodborne or something. He's the one that you've seen if you've watched any of the trailers for this game. He's kind of in this dark swampy area in front of this castle. He's got like extra legs and this big like something's wrong with his neck. It's like
extra legs
sagging.
That might be a point for me where I go, nope.
Yeah, so he's creepy and he has the big sword that becomes your first like legendary weapon. Once you beat him, you get this giant 2-handed sword that now I've been using. But I don't think he's very hard. If you don't roll or dodge or block properly, you're gonna die. But like he has only like 3 moves. He has like one jump slam move. He has a couple of swings, and then he has one big like long pullback, and then he'll dive forward to try to stab at you. And then that's pretty much it. So you just have to, and the game is very generous with its, what do they call it when you roll and you're kind of invincible during that roll? Is that like the iframes? Is that what they call that?
Yeah. I didn't know there was a word for it. Where you mean like if you're in the middle of an action, they can't an uninterrupted roll. Talk with beer.
No, exactly. It's exactly like
uninterruptible action, basically.
If you're in the middle of an attack, a charge attack, or casting magic, or swinging your sword, they'll hit you and that'll hurt, and they might interrupt you if your poise is low enough. But if you're rolling, I feel like even if they're doing a giant like slam move, I'm not taking any damage if I roll at the right time.
Interesting. Well, thanks for bringing that up. They're going to patch that. Good job.
Dang it. It's your fault. I like that. That actually makes me feel like okay, cool. I can manage these fights, and so I'm using roll quite a bit. So anyway, I think the bosses have been fun. The second boss that I fought up on this bridge, he had just such a cool design. I don't know. And he was just giant knight. He was just a huge human. He wasn't like a big monster or anything, but just his armor design and the character and the way he kind of screams at you at the beginning is just cool. I just thought I really like the vibe of this game.
One thing you have to acknowledge about the studio is that their art design is just next level. I mean, when you compare it to other people that are making games of the same scale, you're like, how are they coming up with this? This is crazy.
Yeah, totally agree. So yeah, loving it. I'll keep playing this one a lot more. It is certainly something I'm having a blast with. But since we're not playing the new Final Fantasy 16 content, we might as well, since we already talked about it just a tiny bit, any updated thoughts on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Jeff, especially since you've just dove back in to try to finish out your playthrough?
I had I think last night when I came home from whatever the hell I was doing, all my nights are blurring together at this point. I was Mr. Social Butterfly over here.
Mr. Popular.
Yeah.
But it's not even, I'm not even popular. It's just that when you find your people that don't make you change who you are to feel accepted, you're like, I want to be around these people all the time. That's it.
Also, normal, nice people.
Normal,
human beings.
People
Yeah.
Just regular on your level, psychologically, or like in your life stage, or whatever. Like you're just like, I just want to be around these people all the time. Yeah. But last night I was just like, bro, I am not vibing with, like, the play hadn't even started yet. We were sitting down to start to play in chapter 12. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, isn't there like a threat to the universe? What am I doing here?
Like, Jeff, you're like right at the precipice of the madness, and I'm like waiting for the two of you so I could just word vomit everything.
So in that sense, chapter 12 almost felt like a filler, even though it was legitimately from the original game, from what I've heard.
I mean, it's a very important section. That whole
But anyway, there's some cool characters.
So that was really the only part I got past. That
there's a twist.
I think Tim was already past that by the last time we podcast. So there's a twist to that.
I mean, there's like a story twist at the end of 12 with a character, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it happened. It happened in the original. Character?
Yeah, it was expected if you played the original, but it was
right. I was expecting it because I saw the recap of the original. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was wondering if they were.
It was still some level of disheartening, without trying to get into spoilers on that, for anybody that doesn't know any of the story beats. But it was still disheartening because there was some text that popped up on the screen that made me go, "Oh,
yeah."
Like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was like red text, and you're like, "Oh,
yeah, exactly."
The moment happened. The moment happens differently.
Yeah.
The moment happens differently because there's, without trying to be vague, like earlier on in the game, like something happens where it's like, oh, okay. So they're kind of talking about this character differently because of information that gets divulged. So I was almost wondering, I'm like, are they still gonna and it does still happen, but it's just interesting, because
it's really cool, man. And I'm glad I'm at 13. Like, I just plowed through chapter 13, I should say. Sorry, not Final Fantasy 13. I'm glad I plowed through. I'm not just playing the games in order, guys. I don't know if you knew that. There's like a part after 12, or I guess the transitional period between 12 and 13, where it's like, let's get on that boat thing, and you just start zipping around.
Let's just go north.
And I just straight up just said, screw it, I'm just gonna follow this path directly. Like I did. There was a part of an island that I saw that I was like, what's this about? And I fought this enemy that took me at least 10 minutes, which is not normal on easy mode.
Dragon? Did you fight that?
It was like a dragon type.
Oh, the treasure stuff.
It was like it was the treasure thing. And I was
cool
like,
looking,
the hell is this? Like, cool. And he took forever to take down, even on easy mode. It was crazy. And he had that power up that, like, it's an unavoidable attack, but when they only give you the alert when he's winding up to deliver it, but he'll keep delivering it for 5 minutes or whatever, however long it is. It feels like 5 minutes until you like stagger him or something like that, or he does another attack. Like it's the one where it's like it shocks you every time you attack him, and you have to dodge. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. That's a great boss fight. I imagine if I were on normal and a patient gamer, I would love all that stuff, like on normal difficulty.
Anyway, that boss fight I liked. There's been a lot that I have not liked. I feel like there's inconsistency, at least for me personally, with how enjoyable some of them are, and I think it might just depend on how you approach each fight. I understand they want you to assess and then do the pressure and then do, I understand the process they want you to go through, but it doesn't work super well with the ATB system sometimes. So especially when they force you to do one-on-one battles with really fast-moving, very aggressive bosses, it's very frustrating. So like, I'm like, okay, so the only method here really is I have to just take damage and accept it, or dodge around. Cloud has to look like a moron the way I dodge around and block. I have to make him look stupid in order to finally get my ATB bar up enough to assess, and then do that again so I can finally start to attack.
I legitimately couldn't. There was a final boss in chapter 12 that was like so counter heavy. even on easy mode, that I was like, okay, so I guess I just can't fight him. Which is not true.
I thought I was supposed to lose at first, but no.
I know what you're talking about. I know exactly. We're talking about the same person.
I can't. You said 1-on-1.
I'm
trying to remember.
There's a one-on-one fight at the end of chapter 1.
Oh wait, okay.
And it's a boss you fight in remake. So it's,
which not a new person at all.
The fight feels way different.
That fight, that character in that fight, and like in both scenarios, he's just that person is just very.
I figured out the rhythm pretty quickly because I actually I interrupted something he was doing in the very first few seconds of the fight, and I was like, oh, that's what this fight wants me to do. It wants me to find the window where he's doing that.
Oh yeah,
and attack him.
I'll tell you the move I forgot about until. It took me. I died once, and then the second.
Yeah, I can't imagine doing this on normal. I would have died.
It took me forever. I was I was doing no damage. I learned his patterns, like you're saying, and I was successfully parrying. So a lot of his attacks were saying immune. So I was feeling good about understanding his rhythms. I just could not get him like actually damage him. I was having so much trouble, getting very irritated.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, there was a move I remembered that Cloud has. It's the triple slash, and when there's only one enemy, he hits that same enemy 3 times. And I was like, oh, he like warps to them essentially.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't hit him fast enough during his one little weak window, which is like a second and a half that you have to hit him.
It's so brief.
And so if you try to pause and like throw magic at him, it's not going to hit in time. Like nothing's going to hit in time. But I was like, ooh, that'll hit in time. And so I started doing that at the very end, and then I found that I was able to get the stagger up a lot quicker. Yeah. So
I actually ended up what saved my ass was a summons. I ended up getting a summon in time for that fight. Yeah. Nice. Which is kind of surprising considering I felt like I wasn't really doing that much damage. But when you do interrupt that one window, the pressure comes up and you're like, I can start just railing on this guy, and it just built up my summon bar even further.
My experience with this combat has been mostly positive, but the lows are really frustrating. And it's not like this is difficult. It's more like I don't like the system you're making me go through in order to be successful. I'm not saying I don't understand it. I get it. But there are times when it just makes sense and it flows and it clicks. And I'm like, dude, I'm so feeling this game. And then all of a sudden I'll hit this wall. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? Why are you making me do this?
Dude, I like, I don't know if you guys will circle back around to it, but there's like 2 extra things that unlock through Chadley. That's like the super like go F yourself like hard mode like challenges, and like
there's one summon that I didn't even get because it was like halfway through the fight.
Well, that's the one
unblockable that I was like, never mind, I'm gonna do this.
That's the one I was like, F that guy, right? In the top.
Yeah.
But I eventually got it. But
I've actually seen people when they've talked about how to fight certain boss fights, and because I've done some searching, like what's the best way to fight this boss fight? And they've mentioned that summon you're talking about.
Well, by the way, that summon uses an attack with a very familiar name from a previous game that I played and loved. And use that attack all the time. So as soon as I saw that name, I was like, "Oh fuck!"
Oh yeah, you're like, "Oh, I'm dead. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, I'm dead."
See, an example of a really good boss fight is in Chapter 13. In my opinion, it's a good boss fight. They use the arena well. The boss is well designed, and the game kind of shows you in the opening cutscene a little bit of what to expect. It's a dragon fight where there's this like lava that he's going to spew at you. And the opening cutscene, it can be a really frustrating fight. Like my first time I took a ton of damage, and then I was like, I'm just going to restart because I know what I'm supposed to do and I wasn't doing it well. And so I restarted and I did fine. But at the very beginning of the cutscene, it shows the characters evade this one big move that the dragon does. And that to me is a smart way of showing the player, here's what to do when he starts to do that move. And that's all you have to do. You just have to kind of follow what they do before that fight.
Yeah, the game's more or less telling you, but it's like it's all about context clues.
Sometimes it does. Really but when you're like forced to use slight spoiler here, when you're forced to use Kate Sith on a solo set of missions, it's so stupid and annoying, and I hate the way he controls and fights.
It was brutal. It was brutal. Yeah,
and it is a shame because in the trailers I was like,
not Dark Souls brutal. It was just like counterintuitive to what the rest of the game was, in my opinion.
You know what it was? It's like when a game is so high level like this, I feel like it's so high level. Everything
even during all that play stuff that I didn't really care for, I was like, look at how good this looks.
I mean, the production values and the gameplay depth and the amount of like the way you can use materia and the weapons and their like so well done. For it to have full sections that are required in the main story, I was a little surprised by that. I was like, you're making me do this? in the main story.
They love to just throw that quirky moment at you, you know? They're like, here's the quirky character, you're doing a quirky thing, and it's like,
we're quirking it up so we can do a whole separate third game and just keep making money off of this thing.
That's true. Well, I don't even mind when they force
more,
you to
Jeff, there's more.
There's gonna be more of this.
I actually don't mind when they make you split the party up and it's like, now use these 2 or 3 and use these 2 or 3. I don't mind that.
Say that, dude, because that happened in chapter 12, and the 2 they left me with, I went, no. I was like, no, I have other people I'm so proud, like I'm so happy with.
Yeah, no, I get it. But for the most part, I've been okay with the parties being split up, because then you can use their different synergy abilities together. And
true,
I don't mind that. The only thing I don't like is that I've had to always go into the menu every time they switch and then re-steal materia back from the characters I'm not using anymore, because all the good stuff is set up. That's a little bit annoying, but that's part of the game. That's fine.
Yeah,
I mean that's the game, dude.
That's the game.
I think they really did kind of like almost design the game to be like, this is going to be easier if you just spend as much time as possible, like level up all the way so you can level up a lot of materia and not have to be swapping around, because I didn't really have to do that. I pretty much had like everything designated on characters, and even
some of the blues, like, because they only give you, like, for example, the elemental one, when you want to add an elemental attack, they only give you like 1, maybe 2 of those, and there's also like the what's the magic efficiency one. I don't know if there's more than one of the, like, things like that I swap over because I think it's important.
Like magnify, which is supposed to be like magnify. The all materia, like, there's not a ton, which is a bummer. And I think there was like maybe a couple of times where I was like, let me just swap this way. Okay. But like otherwise, I mean more of like mainstay stuff. Like if I'm like, this character is gonna be like my fire and like ice materia person, and this one's lightning, and this one's like those, like I had plenty of that. Aerith is my healer, and then I put like, I try to have chakra on every character, so they can self-heal if they need, because Chakra's like
good stuff.
when I get around to playing on hard, like chakras are really helpful, because on hard mode you can't use items,
and you can have them auto use that ability, right?
Yeah, auto cast.
You could, yeah, you could. That's do
what
that.
I do with chakra specifically.
Yeah. I'm very micromanaging when I play this game. Like I'm personally good at like swapping around and being like, all right, like either swap to the character or I hit X where it slows down time, and I'm like, I know that person has enough ATB to do something, so I'll go into their menu. Yeah, I'll go into their menu and I'll make them do the thing. So,
do the thing.
So I'm good at
do the thing.
Do the thing. Do it now. Don't get to the chopper. Because he's in there, the guy.
Because he's in there, that guy. There's a lot of choppers in this game.
The guy with the really stupid white coat with all the dangly things on the bottom. I don't understand his coat. Seriously, what the hell is up?
Physics do not make sense to Austrians.
What is with Rufus's coat, dude? Like that thing just looks ridiculous. It looks absurd.
Certainly not a comfort thing. I'll tell you that.
No,
certainly not.
Well, I think Rufus has Asperger's, the way
also,
he just stares.
Rufus. You're gonna threaten me, and your name is Rufus? Get out of here,
Rufus. Yeah.
Hey, he can fight though.
I know he can, but his name is still Rufus at the end of the day. So
he can.
I like switching around between 2 characters too. I think one of the things that would have helped me more, and this was in Remake 2, was a more intuitive way to see what is happening. Like if I don't do something, I'm about to be petrified. Like little things like that. I know that there's a little red symbol, but there's no chance that I'm like actually able to see that and have it highlighted for me. Like, oh, Yuffie's about to be petrified if I don't do something or get out. Like little things like that did kind of. I do wish there was a way for it, and maybe there's not. Maybe there's too much happening. It's like, sorry, you got to pay better attention. That could be the answer. Yeah. But there are plenty of times where I'm like, man, I just feel uninformed with what just happened. Like, why is everyone almost dead all of a sudden? I was doing great. Like, what just happened? And I switch around between characters all the time. I have auto casts on. I've got tons of leveled up materia. I'm at just under level 50 with everybody. So it's not like I'm under leveled for for chapter 13. I've done a ton of the side stuff. So that, I think that's where sometimes it can feel frustrating, where it's like, all right, I'm following even the path that you told me to do, Square, and yet still certain fights out of nowhere will be incredibly challenging. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. It just
I think that's just, that's just kind of it's definitely the boss fights overall have more difficulty spikes than just regular enemies for sure. So, and I think that's just their way of like, and maybe if it's like one of the main boss fights where it's not an optional one, where it's like, oh, you go find all the things with Chadley and then go do that boss fight over there. Like that's different because you can choose to do that. Whereas if it's part of the story, you're like, oh shit, this weirdo, they're throwing a curveball.
I literally cannot go forward unless I.
That one in chapter 12 that we were referring to earlier, the one-on-one fight. I'm pretty sure. Like I only died once, but I'm pretty sure the second time, because it took me so long, I think I spent like 40 minutes on that fight. By the time I was done, I almost didn't even want to keep playing. Even though it's a big pivotal moment in the story, I was just like, I'm so frustrated right now. Like, and you know what it was? I feel like it's because it was wasting my time. You know, there are games that are difficult and it's like I'm getting into the groove and I figure it out, and then you have this great moment of triumph when you kind of like figure it out and get it.
Yeah.
This didn't feel like that. This to me, like, there were so many moments I was just like, this is just poorly made. This is not how Cloud should be fighting this guy. This is not how this fight should be going. But they're making me do, like, I don't know. I was just getting really, really annoyed with the way that was set up. And part of me says that's just me. It's just the way I play. It doesn't match up with what they wanted me to do. But then part of me says, no, they're stupid. They shouldn't have made it this way.
Well, they're dumb and bad, and the game is dumb and bad.
Yeah, I'm not saying this by any means to be braggy, but I don't think I'm trying to remember.
I didn't even break a sweat when I had that fight.
I don't think I don't think I actually died on any boss fights in the game. except for the dragon one that you just mentioned, because I think the lava threw me off. Well, I knew what they were doing context wise with that cutscene, but I think I remember trying to run away from the lava. I'm like, no, it's still reaching me. What the hell? I swear I'm running away from this correctly.
He has two different versions of it. One you have to go towards, one you have to go away.
Yeah. So that caught me out, but I think that was actually like the only boss fight where I died. But again, I'm just so OCD about everything. I look at it like OG7, where I'm like, all right, I have like even the appropriate accessories to say, like with Petrify, like you're saying, like make sure I have good accessories on so those things aren't an issue. Because I don't really remember status ailments being a huge problem in this game for me, except for some optional fights.
What about the frogs? You never get turned into frogs and you're running around licking things on the battlefield?
I'm good at dodging that because there's the visual cue of the little like kind of like
my side characters get turned into frogs and I switch over to them and I'm like, how are you a frog?
Sure, yeah.
You're telling me none of your side characters ever get petrified?
They definitely not petrified. I don't remember getting petrified.
Dang.
And if I did, it was maybe when I fought a Marlboro.
Am I playing it on hard by accident? I don't know what's happening.
Could be. I don't know, man. Everything you're describing, I'm like,
but like,
I tell you, man, easy sounds like 3 steps lower than that. That's crazy.
But the second that happened, though, if it did, because there definitely were moments where like, oh, that person got hit with frog. I just immediately throw the maiden's kiss at them, and then they're no longer frogged. So
I've got so many items, which is great. But that's another thing that does bug me.
I would not have thought about that at all. Like even a little bit.
I do like the item. What's that material where sometimes you don't use ATB for an item? It's item not maximizer.
I know what you're talking about, because I have it equipped on a couple. I can't remember what it's called.
That's a great one, because like when you are in fights like that where status ailments, or maybe you need a quick heal, just throw a mega potion or something, like those are great. So I like those. Some of the materials are really great. I haven't found use for the HP MP swap one. I understand it. That's a classic that's been around for a long time. It's kind of like, I haven't found a use for it. I don't want to be.
There's like a certain structure, I think, with that, but like I've never delved into it, so I've never.
It's got to be something to do with casting like reflect and barrier and stuff on yourself. There's got to be something where it makes sense to have no HP, basically. But
right, because it'd be triple digits HP versus quadruple.
Like you can get one shot by almost any small enemy with that few of HP, but you could cast everything, so you could like, I don't know, maybe you could instant cast all kind of protection for yourself and then start wailing.
There's definitely a certain layout I would think that you have to have with something like that. I never got that when I was a kid. I was like, why am I swapping these? That doesn't make any sense. So I never looked into it, but I know there's definitely like weird, quirky stuff you can do. So
yeah. The only character I have not enjoyed playing as in the combat was Kate Sith. The rest of them, it's
unfortunate.
The rest of them, I've enjoyed all of them. I love the way Red controlled. I know people like to say like Aerith is bad. Like I love the way Aerith. I love her ranged attacks, using her wards to dodge around, and using all her protective magic is great.
Is it Radiant Ward?
Yes.
The one that shoots like the beams.
That one's awesome.
That is so sick.
Yeah.
Because it's all the little things open up like around her, and it's like pew 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 pew. It's like all these like laser.
You feel like you're actually doing a boss move at that point. Like they have to dodge this thing.
Yeah.
So
I've really enjoyed the way each like their different move sets. Whoever is paired up, as long as it's not Kate Sith, I've been happy for the most part.
Right.
Yeah, it's such a shame because in the trailer I was like, oh, he actually looks kind of cool. Like,
yeah, he does. Yeah.
But like,
as I read through the little tutorial on the side, like here's how to activate his Moogle friend, and then ride on him in order to unlock other moves. And as I'm looking through all of them and look at the move sets, I was like, I hate this. I hate that I have to like.
It's just so quirky, which he's a quirky character. He's just inherently quirky, and
exactly.
and everything
Dude,
around
some people, of course,
just look at him. Exactly.
If you look online, of course, people are dominating with him and love him. That's
Oh,
awesome.
sure.
No surprise there. Just it's not a Tim character. I learned very quickly.
I don't think it's a Jeff character either. It's not that I hate him. It's just kind of like I go, this is a bridge too far.
I love his voice acting. I love his voice acting.
Voice acting is top notch, and I'm glad it doesn't change a quarter way through his arc. And you're like, oh, can we go back to the other?
That doesn't happen, Jeff. What are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
You guys,
listen, guys.
Fun.
Contextually, it makes sense. Okay,
it does, but
it's still dumb. Oh, guys, I'm so excited! Like, what?
You used to be so cool. What happened to you,
dude? He's still cool though. He
is. He's still the guy I go to where I go, okay, I got to stagger this guy quickly. I'm gonna switch to that guy. Yeah.
You know what I actually love though is like they specifically Barrett acknowledges like after that section of the game.
Yeah,
he calls him his actual name.
I know.
Like,
yeah,
I did. I just hit that moment, and I
did notice that shift.
Yeah. Like he doesn't call him. He doesn't call him.
Those two really bonded in that really cool Cosmo Canyon section.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because they were forced to. The old man, what's his name?
Oh, the mines. Well, there was the mine section that was earlier on.
Well, I think they really bonded when they did the trial.
But that too.
You're right about the mines too. Yeah, where they got stuck. They had no choice.
Yeah, they got stuck together. But then I know what you're talking about. The trial. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, that trial. Yeah. Also, by the way, I love Barrett's like go-to lines that he at least says like 35 times in that whole mine section where he's like, "I wish I could look up the wall."
I know.
I wish I could do that. Like, that's not fair. Like, it's
he goes so like, now where'd you run off to? I'm getting the treasure.
I'm literally, you just saw me run up. Yeah, you just
There's
saw
like
me. There's
two ledges. They both have items. You know what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's one of those video gamey things where I'm like, I wish they just recorded like maybe 50 more lines so there's a bit more variety, you know?
Not even close to as bad as I need to put this in my stash from Horizon Forbidden.
Ooh, that was real bad. That was real bad.
At launch, I should say, because people that play it now will be like, what are you talking about?
That was one of the funniest updates of a video game ever. Like, we're going to make this say, I'll put it in my stash less.
So by the time I went to Forbidden Sands, it was not there at all. It was maybe there.
Less stashy.
She's like, I'll put it in my whatchamacallit. I won't even say.
I'll just put it somewhere else.
Yeah, I just don't. My bad. I'll just
put a new line.
I wish I had a place to stash this.
Anybody got anything I can stash?
Yeah. No, I'm absolutely. And by the way, Queen's Blood is super fun. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. I totally get it. But I love it.
That I'm just too dumb to understand what the game wants me to do.
I don't think you're alone in that. It's not about being dumb. I don't think you're alone in it. The game just not being your thing, not being interesting or fun enough to put the time in to learn it. Because you're not too dumb. It's just like it takes a little time to really understand the concepts and like how to go about it.
And here's the thing, though. The problem was the RNG element kept throwing me because like I would be like, oh, I'm in a rhythm. I got this, baby. I got this. Especially during the chapter that's like you have to do that part of the story, the tournament. You don't have to win every time. You can just lose first round and be like, okay, let's move on. But it doesn't, like you still have to play the game. So like by the time I got to the final person, which was a hilarious moment that we've talked about before. It's just so absurd. It's like my favorite part in all of games, period. It's just so good. But when that finally happens, I was thrown completely because he kept having an OP hand that was just, I could not fight with. On any level, and I was like, well, then how do I play the game again? Like felt like I had to relearn how to play the game.
What's the deal?
I wasn't wrong. It wasn't me. It was the RNG stuff. It was like all the stuff out of my control, and so I was second guessing myself pretty quickly on that game.
Yeah, there's some kind of like the specialized hands that you can play at the Golden Saucer where they'll like flip the board, for example. Like that one was interesting where you have all these cards that do things to the cards behind them, and I'm like, I rarely need this unless I've really pushed forward. But all of a sudden, there's a couple of challenges where the board flips, and now you're working from right to left.
Mm-hmm.
And so now all those cards
That's
become
crazy.
super powerful. So I had a whole deck that was just essentially the reverse. So I was using cards I hadn't really touched before. I thought that was a really clever touch where it's like, all right, now I can use these cards that otherwise will never be in any of these decks. I'll use these. That was fun. I like that. But yeah, I went through the storyline gets really crazy, and then there's a person you have to battle back at the Haunted Mansion. You probably did all this already, Dan. There's a character that as you progress through Queen's Blood and keep waking up, you battle someone in the lobby of the Luigi's Mansion, as I call it.
Yes. True.
And then there's I think after that it's probably the final either fight or set of Queen's Blood matchups. I don't know, but I didn't do any after that. But I made it pretty far, probably 28 matches or 30 matches or something won.
You're definitely very close. Very, very close.
Yeah, but I really did enjoy that game. I thought it was really fun. I liked the little boxing game, the little Rock'em Sock'em style boxing game.
I barely passed that in the tutorial mode in the main story.
Dude, it gets hard.
And I was like, I'm not going to get this.
When you go back,
my reflexes were just...
There's two summon characters that you fight, and the second one took me so many tries, but I finally got it. There's like little tells they give, and it just becomes almost a rhythm reaction game. Not rhythm, but like a reaction button game at one point. So I was even standing in my living room, like watching, like and I finally got it. Yeah.
I actually beat that guy like a little sooner than the middle one. I was like, how did I beat the third one?
Dude, all of them were first try for me until that one probably took me 10 tries to finally get it. So I kept messing up.
Yeah, they get tough, because they do that whole thing where they like have like a burst of energy and they suddenly start like unleashing like a whole barrage and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it was learning those patterns, those little I was like, what is this? Creed 3? What are you doing right now? Like stop.
It is Creed 3. It's exactly that.
So yeah. So lots of good and positive from the game. I mean, with a game this big, there's bound to be moments that don't click for some people or frustrate some people in some ways. But overall, I understand why it's getting the love it's getting. I'm very excited to see how the story plays out and how they lead us into the big wait for part 3. So I'm very pumped to see how the whole thing wraps up. And honestly, just kind of, and I don't mean this as a diss to the game. I really don't. I'm just excited to be finished with this one. And I think it's just because I've spent so many hours in it. I'm excited to wrap it up. And
same. I feel that.
Say I finished it.
I really want to get to Banishers, but at the same time, the 16 DLC just came out, and I want to finish that too. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to do like a recap or something because I'm like getting further and further away from. It's such a beefy game. It's a beefy game, and it's like I did everything, literally all the side quests. So I'm like I have to try to remember the main threads because obviously I want to mainly talk about that. I mean, I mainly want to talk about the ending because it's just.
So it's fine. That's what you're saying.
It's very normal. It's very straightforward. Very mundane. So.
There is a part of me that I know I know the battles only get tougher from here. So part of me wants to like just put on easy and just finish the game. But I don't know.
That's my secret cap. I've been on easy this whole time.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh man, I love memes.
When it clicks, when it does what I don't know, when the boss fight is set up in a way that I feel like the way the game trains you to play works. Then I'm really having a lot of fun.
Dude, I feel that hard because like I can't remember what game it was that I played recently that reminded me about blocking. Was Banishers? Is Banishers kind of block heavy and parry heavy?
Yeah,
kinda.
There's a good amount of that. Yeah.
So I guess maybe it was that made me go, oh yeah, that's right. This is in Final Fantasy too, and I just don't do it. Like I'm just an idiot. I play on easy and just coast.
Yeah.
So like there was that fight in an optional area that I'm taking the boat to, and I just turned left and I was like, what's this area? I fought this optional boss, and the whole time I was like parrying out the ass, and I was like, I never played the whole game like this. Like the whole time. It feels so good to see immune when you parry.
Feels
or
good.
when you time a perfect block. It says immune or whatever. And it's just such a great feeling. Oh my god, dude!
But it does parry or like kind of knock over little guys.
Parry is like parry in Final Fantasy, I guess, is more like most of the time it's for me it's random chance, but it's when you're trying to attack them at the same time they try to attack you, right? Is that what it is?
No.
It's what am I thinking? It's timing the block.
Okay.
Yeah. For 7 Rebirth, it's timing the block.
Oh, I might be thinking of 16. Okay, yeah, I'm thinking of 16 then. Where
it's 16 like, where you hit the attack at the same time, right?
I think so. Yeah, and it's like this really cool animation. Yeah.
I think that's 16. Now that I'm saying it, that's
now I'm forgetting because everything's a blur. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
It's all fun. It's all Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I think when a game, this is the last thing I'll say about it, and we can keep moving. When a game allows you to feel like you're not just getting better, but your character's getting stronger, and you feel more powerful as you go, and the challenge increases too. Then they're successfully balancing that out. When a game makes you feel like, dude, I am either really bad or underpowered or something, in my opinion, they've done something wrong. So I don't think that's where my criticism of the combat system comes in. It's kind of like, okay, you've taken a left turn and you're expecting me to go with you, but you didn't tell me this, and this is not how you've trained me to play this whole game. Every enemy has been either super easy or this method has always worked, and now all of a sudden I have to just hold R1 for this whole battle or time R1 like out of nowhere. So like that's where I get frustrated, where I'm like, you didn't lead me to this spot as and the game design didn't lead
I see.
There.
I get
so
you.
like it was working before.
It's like it's almost random where you're like, now you want me to use this mechanic that I wasn't really trained to use the whole time.
I mean, like, if the game is truly an RPG, which it is, I can kind of map out how I want characters to play, how I'm going to play it. And there's multiple ways to approach many problems, and that works most of the time. But there are some moments where it's like, nope, that's not going to work at all. Now I have to do something. I have to totally reconfigure how I think of materia. Right. And, okay, great. I have to do this.
And what we call on film criticism, which I obviously in current cinema, I do that all the time.
We call that a pacing issue. That's what that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like now you want me to do this, or a tonal pacing issue?
Yeah, definitely a shift. And for some folks, I think they're going to be like, yeah, that's fine. That's how I've been playing. Or I've approached every fight differently and I'm comfortable with that, or what. Like, that's great.
I mean, great. I'm glad I'm relearning the core, very, very core mechanics of blocking this late in the game before these massive boss fights. Yeah.
You're going to need it here at the end, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because this whole time I've just been coasting and being like, why am I taking damage? It's like, well, because you're not blocking, dumbass. That's why.
Yeah. The blocking is huge for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, and the item transmuting too, like getting that leveled up is pretty rewarding.
I love that feeling, dude. That's that dopamine fix that you might get as soon as you
even just
hit a special or something like that,
your existing like bangles or whatever. Like even just upgrading those is nice. It's like cool. I just upgraded that. I have all these items, all this material. I didn't know what I was going to use it for. So I just go through and just upgrade a ton of stuff. So that I do. Yeah,
I'm pretty high level on that. Well, I mean, as high level as I can be for the lack of side quests I'm doing.
And if you can unlock more things to craft if you do those little chocobo sniff hunts, those little side quests where they run around sniffing the ground.
I've tried to do all of those. Yeah,
they'll unlock transmuter chips that give you more things to craft.
They
do, which I like that too. So
I think it's really funny that the game design is like, as soon as you're close to one of those areas, your chocobo just shows up right there. He's like, hey, did you call me? No, I didn't at all, actually. Kind of.
He honestly walks up going like, what? What's that?
What's that? What's up?
Dude, my chocobo is always at my side. Always. Always.
And he's always dapper. All right. Hey, that's a good way to wrap up the
facture it.
The Rebirth chat. Hey, random question for you guys. This is a segment that if we like it, we'll do it again in the future. I'm calling it gaming factors. All right. So thinking about the new games that have come out, what factors contribute whether or not you make a purchase? So you're going to tell me one of 4 options for each of these things. It's a non-factor. It's a contributing factor, major factor, or you know what, dude, if this is the only factor I need to make a decision on whether or not I buy this thing. So it's either non-partial, really big, or the only thing I need. So here's the first example. When you're making a general gaming purchase, I'm going to go buy a game. What factor does price for you play? Or I'll read you some of the options: game trailer, screenshots, the genre of the game, reviews, whether it's critics or users, the developer or publisher who made it, or the word of mouth. So let's start with price. What factor does price usually come into play for you guys? And just generally speaking, gaming purchase, and we'll get more specific in a second. Is price non-factor, contributing, major, or only?
I get. So if it's just like a game that I'm like, oh, I've seen the trailer for it, and like maybe it wasn't something that's like on the forefront of my mind, but eventually I'll get it. Then
price becomes a bigger factor.
Yeah, I guess it would become a bigger factor because I'm like, I'm interested in that, but not enough where I'm like, I really need to get that like when it comes out. And then I'm like, I'm fine with spending $70 because that's just is what it is.
What about you, Jeff? Is price a pretty big one? If it's not a game you were already sold on, maybe?
It's game dependent. It's okay, so an example of a game I'm super excited for, Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah.
I'll pay whatever you want me to pay for 3 days access and a season pass.
Well, it's Ubisoft. Be careful what you say.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. And I know that's bad because Ubisoft is like notorious for doing. They did this with Avatar. They did this with the cost is the same pretty much for all of their AAA games like that. And that's bad that we're normalizing it. I get that. But I'll be like, I'll pay whatever you want me to pay. But if it's a game like No Rest for the Wicked, I'm already on the fence. Prices might be the only thing that I consider because it's already difficult, Okay. And then there's the middle of the road indies that I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. I'll try that. And then I see it's like $12 on launch day. Yeah, I'm getting that, bro. Like, yes.
All right, let me give you specific instances, and then you can give an answer to these. If it's a brand new IP from a developer and publisher you don't know, so you're not familiar with them, they've not made anything that you've played before, or maybe they don't have anything on their resume, and this is a new IP. What factor do reviews play for you? Let's say the game's already out and you're looking at user or critic reviews. Are they a non-factor, contributing, major? Really the only thing you're
actually at? It's major. Unproven is major for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
For both critic and user.
For both critic and user. Like I'll look at Steam reviews and I'll equally weigh that with Open Critic specifically. Yes.
Okay. And Dan, what role does reviews play?
I'll say contributing because I think I know I'm very dialed in with what I know I like and I don't like. So once I've seen what it looks like and like the way it's moving, like the characters, the way that like if they're showing gameplay, which I very much need to see gameplay. It's not just about like, oh, here's a cutscene where like a thing happens cool. Like, no, I want to see your game. Like I'm playing a video game. I want to see what you're doing. I'm very good because I've just been playing video game for so long. I'm like, I like what's going on there. There's something there, that there's a loop there or something interesting going on there. But I still want to know some information about how people feel about the game.
All right, then then speaking of that, what role does the media around the game, not like outlets, but the game trailers, the screenshots, the media they've put out?
Oh, marketing. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a trailer. Here's gameplay clips. Here's a developer doing a let's play for 20 minutes talking about it, or even just screenshots. Dan, does that play a major role for you then for new IP, unknown developer? That's pretty big.
Definitely major. I just don't keep looking at the media. I'll watch like a couple of the initial trailers.
You and I are a little more similar on that, but there are some things, again, like the most I guess it would be most my anticipated game for the rest of this year, Star Wars Outlaws. Like that game I want to know close to everything about. Like if they give me 2 more story trailers, I'll probably not watch the next one and then bail on the third one. Like that's too much information by that point.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like gameplay wise, I want to know everything you're going to tell me, dude. So that's.
Well, they haven't shown too much yet, really, of that. They've shown like one gameplay longer trailer, right?
They did that demo
when they first revealed it.
The story trailer,
the first reveal was a surprisingly long demo of the game being played.
The recent reveal was also the release date, but it was a story as well, primarily. So and that's when Kyle was able to call out our resident Star Wars expert, R.I.P. Kyle. He died, but he's able to point out like pour one out for Kyle. He's able to point out like this guy's from this thing and this guy's from this thing. Like the story trailers is where I get extra on a game like that specifically, I guess. That's cool to get, the Easter eggs from people that know things.
Okay.
Or like with Final Fantasy with Dan, where I'm like, oh, okay, that's what that is. That's cool.
All right. So let's say that the game trailers and screenshots look good. Maybe they're not like all you need, but they look good. Let's say that the reviews are solid. What role would the genre? Like you look at the little genre listing, and you see let's say there's 5 different genres listed there.
This is gonna be like, here's the equivalent of I listen to everything but rap and country. You know, people that say that. So like that there's an equivalent for me. It's like I'll play everything but Souls-like and survival. Like it's like like I'm kind of like that. Sure. Well, I guess town building too. I guess there's 4 genres I refuse to play because
those are all my favorites, Jeff.
I know. Like there's tower building or town building, which kind of fall in the same strategy type of
like a defense.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. There are some strategy games I respond to and some I don't. But so it depends on the other factors for that. Like Midnight Suns, if you described it to me on paper, I'd be like, no. But seeing it and then getting hands on, I was like, whoa, okay. It's really good.
So it's at least a contributing factor, maybe a major
contributing for sure.
That genre. But you, Dan, if you see the genres listed, is that a pretty big factor?
It's major with the ones I know I don't like. Kind of like Dan was saying, with I know what I like and I know what I don't like.
Yeah. It's definitely because I'm pretty like open to like most game genres. Like I mean, I haven't like played like a straight up sports game, for example, in a while, but like I definitely did back in the day. I actually liked hockey and like
I see the value
and FIFA and all that. So but there's ones that of course like RPGs is my favorite genre, so usually that's gonna stick out more. But yeah, it's definitely a contributing factor because there's definitely genres I prefer over others. So
one that there's a few genres that I would just avoid immediately, not play that game ever if I saw, but they're not the genres that we usually think about. It'd be like if it says PvP or multiplayer or whatever. If it says those types of things.
Free to play.
Dude, I'm out. I'm so out.
Those are like unspoken for me. Unspoken, so like you guys are not playing that, right? And everybody's like, yeah, of course we're not.
So I just like Jeff was saying, I think like for me that like everything but rap and country, I think that's actually a major factor for me. If I see certain things, it doesn't matter if the price is free or if the game trailer looks gorgeous and if the reviews are all overwhelmingly positive. If there's a genre or two that I'm like, does that say free to play PvP? I'm out. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to play this even a little bit. So yeah, there's certain genres that scare me away. All right, think about it. Outside of games, what about with console hardware iteration? So not a new generation, but an upgrade specifically. So think about like PS5 Pro or Xbox Series Y or whatever they're going to make. I hope they don't call it that. That'd be funny though.
Why?
So
tell me why.
Xbox XYZ coming in the fall. So stupid.
So what factor would you consider for that upgrade? Let's say you already have the console. This is an upgrade. What factor would the technical specs play for you? Is that the only factor? Is that major contributing?
No, it's not contributing for sure, though. Yeah, because it needs to be some sort of leap, like obvious leap of like, let's compare the screenshots to Last of Us 1 on PS3. Compare that with not the remake, the Last of Us Part 2 on PS4. It's like, there's a leap there. You can see it. It's visible.
Digital Foundry needs to break down.
Yeah, is that a pretty big factor for you? Something like a Digital Foundry outline of the differences?
Thing is, I've not done like a middle of the generation upgrade. I don't.
Oh, you didn't get a PS4
Pro? You've never
Pro?
done one?
No, I didn't get the Pro.
I got the Pro when I got my first 4K TV. I was like, well, I gotta try at least one console with the 4K option, and no regrets. It was great purchase. But that was just like an impulse kind of decision.
I did with the Xbox One, I think X. Then they do the Xbox One. Wait,
Xbox One X. Yeah.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah. Was that their mid?
Like
that's
the smaller. It was a 0.5.
Yeah, that's the one that I have because I never got the original Xbox One. I got the Xbox One X. Yeah.
Gotcha. No, I definitely got an Xbox One. Those were shinier, right? And the One X was like plastic and smaller.
Yes, it was smaller. Had more of a like that. What's it called? Like a matte finish. It's like shiny. Yeah.
Kind of like the Series X and S do.
Yes. Man, so they literally just added the word series in there and just was like, Xbox Series X.
They are so doing it again. And they're doing it again.
You know what's crazy to me? Like, I know this is a little bit of a rabbit trail, but like a company like Microsoft, who you would think of all the companies, they have learned alongside companies like Apple with how important marketing and branding and name recognition is, to create such a convoluted naming system for your primary hardware in the gaming space is just baffling to me. I just don't understand it. Like, even the jump to 360, I was like, okay, all right. But I don't know. None of the rest of it, they went back to Xbox One. I was like, what are you doing? Is it like, what is this? I would love it, by the way, if the next Mortal Kombat game was called Mortal Kombat Series X. That'd be amazing. Because they did Mortal Kombat 1.
It's the next natural step. Yeah.
I just don't understand it. It's fine. Okay, what about, back to games real quick, what about a long-awaited sequel? And maybe it's even a revitalization of a dormant franchise. So what factor at that point would something like price play? Let's say that it's
GTA 6 or maybe smaller.
Let's say it's a Witcher 4, GTA 6, a long-awaited sequel, even like Cyberpunk 2. You know what I mean? Like,
you don't even need to give me a price.
So price is a non-factor, right?
Here's a blank check.
You could say 200, and I'd be like, yeah, I mean, look at everything we're gonna do.
Okay. Would game trailers or screenshots impact your decision at all?
Yes.
Yeah, contributing, not major though.
Okay.
Contributing factor, yeah.
And assuming that the genre doesn't make a major shift, that doesn't matter to you for a long-awaited sequel of a game. Like,
I mean, yeah, I guess it depends on the Final Fantasy fans. I guess.
What about reviews? Let's say that it's Cyberpunk 3077 or whatever they decide to do, right, with their sequel.
Watch them go back with 2076, and you're like,
2076. All right.
Gonna be worse. Back. I don't understand.
Going back.
Everybody's alive again. So anyway, let's say it's a sequel to Cyberpunk. Would critic and user reviews potentially sway you on a sequel, a long-awaited sequel?
Oh man, that's such a good point, because 2077 was such a huge letdown to read about with the console edition and experience, because I think I'm among the four of us that had maybe the most issues at launch on a console.
You did have a lot of issues. That's right. I forgot about that.
To the point I had to switch to PC and be like, PC is great. It reviewed well on PC, obviously, so of course it's great.
I played all the way through and finished on PS4, base PS4.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I'm sure you had some crashes, but it doesn't sound like your experience was as bad as mine.
No, I think I had a handful at most.
Yeah.
So.
Which is expected for open world stuff sometimes.
Sure.
You probably also had an Xbox 360 with no Red Ring of Death. You son of a.
Oh, I mean,
there was no Xbox in my house. I was like, no.
Oh, Xbox. Yeah. You know what? That's fair.
I did the next like this. I was like, no Xbox.
Literally Xbox.
I was a full on Xbox Xbox Wii 60. I was one of those guys.
Sure.
It was the Wii and the 360.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 360. Yep.
Yeah.
And then I grew up in
so
I forgot the question.
Would reviews, Dan, for you make an impact?
Yeah.
Sorry, I meant to say all that.
I'm overall a very level-headed person when it comes to these. Even if there was just an overwhelming fans and reviews and videos showing that these remake games for 7 were abysmal, I'm not gonna just let that sway me to buy I'm not gonna just spend the money on a game because it's Final Fantasy VII. If it was these games
garbage.
are these games are 3 out of 10s, I'm like, guys, I'm sorry.
So I think I'm in the same boat as you. To me, the reviews would be a contributing factor, and that the caveat there is if they were extreme, if let's say it's a long-awaited sequel to a series I don't care about, but the reviews all come out as overwhelmingly positive, that might actually have a contributing factor to swaying me to care about it and maybe buy it now. And maybe I wouldn't have before, for example.
And it's a combination too of watching the actual what they put out there, looking at it and just kind of paying attention and being does that look like something I'm interested in that I like? Does it look like it's quality? Or is it just garbage,
Yeah, no, I like that.
That just comes with playing games for a long time. I mean, I don't know.
Yep, I agree. Well, we'll come back to that at some point. What are some of the gaming factors that affect your decision making when it comes to gaming? Listen, we buy a lot of games, and between all of us on the show, we still don't buy as many as other folks that are out there. I realize that, but we do spend a lot of money on games, and so sometimes it's interesting to pause and think through what made me skip that one or buy this one. Why did I buy this for $50 and I haven't even installed it and played it yet. Like, what am I doing? Like, so sometimes I try to think through, like, what is my thought process with purchasing? There are some times when I'm very much a victim of the kind of the checkout lane impulse buys. You know what I mean? Like, oh, look at that, peanut M&Ms are only $1. I'll grab. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they get them. They get Tim. They got him.
They get me every time.
I've
been needing a pack of beef jerky and some gloves for driving. You know what I mean? Like, those are the things I've been needing.
Absolutely. Steam is definitely the store that makes us the most vulnerable to that.
Oh yeah.
Ideology where you're like, $3 for this game? Are you shitting me? Of course I'm gonna grab it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. CD keys and other platforms like that also make me go like, well, all right. This is going to total $12 for 18 games. Like, all right, I'll do that. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think Humble Bundle also did that to me for a little while there when they would have those really
I remember
incredible deals. Yeah.
And that was when I didn't have as much of a library as I do now, where I'm like, okay, I have everything. I'm good.
I mean, Epic Games giving away a free game or two every week is the only reason I still open up that app. Like, I rarely even play games on it, but I still want to add their games to my library, just thinking like, maybe someday Epic Games will become a place where I actually play a lot of games. I want to have a nice library there. So I always go in and add whatever's free there.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go over a couple quick headlines real quick. And then to close it out, we're going to do anything else. There's some new games, movies, TV shows, anything else you've been watching or playing. We'll wrap it up with that. I'll just do some headlines real quick, though, before we do that. So Aiden Chronicle 100 Heroes is coming out this week. Very excited about this. Really looking forward to this one. Of course, there is the kind of that cloud hanging over all of it with Murayama, who passed away unexpectedly. It's very, very sad. But this is interesting. The studio was hosting an AMA and Ask Me Anything on Reddit, and they were asked about the future of the series, knowing that there were plans for, hey, if this does well, we'd like to build this out into a franchise. So it could N-esque where you really can build out the lore and the world and all that stuff. And they were asked it, and they pretty much said, absolutely, we're moving forward with the sequel. It's very sad that Murayama is not with us anymore, but we've discussed many things with him. We'll hope we'll be able to carry on his legacy and treasure his last work. I hope many people support the game. So maybe that's a little marketing speak of them saying, of course we're doing more of these. Like, it could be nothing to it, but it also could be very true where they've already mapped out a bit of where they see this series of games going. Maybe.
I mean, I think that's fantastic. I know the little ranking thing or prediction we did the other was it last episode. I was like negative on it because I was just basing it off of maybe a couple of factors, but I really hope this does super well because
same here.
Konami, being a big old dumbass over there with their Suikoden property, and they're just like, meh, I mean, whatever. Like, so we need this. We need what they do with this.
For some reason, when you said that, I pictured the Konami office building with their logo at the top and just like a big butt cheek set up right on the very top. Like, just a Konami.
Yeah, exactly. Buttheads.
Big butts.
Just buttheads.
Yeah, no, I really hope that not only is this game excellent, but I would love to see, his legacy carry on in this way. I would have loved to see it carry on in the Suikoden games as well, but it's cool that he was able to get this going. What's the name of this company again? It's something Rabbit something. I
don't even remember. Hold on, I have to look it up.
I feel like the name Rabbit is in their developer.
That does sound right. Chronicles.
But yeah, the Kickstarter momentum behind this thing was so insane, and it was so exciting to see. And of course, they put out that side-scrolling game last year that was a nice little kind of prequel to this. So it's cool the things they've been able to build out.
I did like that prequel.
I
didn't think I would too. Yeah. So
yeah, it was very pretty and it was fun. Yeah.
Rabbit and Bear Studios.
Rabbit and Bear, that's what it is. Yeah.
Well, those two things can't coexist. What's going on?
Huh?
Well, it does now.
Yeah. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Of course, that game comes out this week. I really got to move on to finish up Rebirth. I'll probably be up way too late tonight trying to finish at least chapter 13 of Rebirth. That way I have the last chapter left. All right. So I've been told that when a company decides to put its previously exclusive games on another platform, it's like their last gasp of a dying brand. That's what I've been told. That's what I hear. Which is what Xbox is doing, of course. They're dying. They're stupid. This is their last-ditch effort to survive, to put Sea of Thieves and Grounded on other platforms.
Right, but not only are they dying and stupid, but nobody cares about those games coming out.
No one cares about those games. There's definitely not millions of people on PlayStation playing it. Yeah.
Sea of Thieves on PS5. Nobody's playing.
Yeah. They definitely didn't just hit 40 million total players for that game. Nope, that didn't happen. So anyway, Kena, Bridge of Spirits, beautiful game. Really pretty game. it just got rated for the Xbox Series X and S, all but confirmed that it's going to hit the other platforms. Now, this is not a Sony developed game, but it was one of their feathers in the cap.
Some of their money came from Sony in terms of like, oh, we struggled for a bit, and then Sony exclusivity helped move things along or something like that.
Exactly.
So that is interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Also, that game just rules, so I'm just glad it's coming to other stuff.
Such a pretty game. And I know it's different. I understand it's potato, apples and oranges or whatever, potatoes. I don't know what words I'm saying. But
you just like potatoes. You just want to talk about potatoes.
I really want some potatoes right now.
Vegetables and fruit, man.
Oh my gosh, remember the food pyramid? What a waste of time that thing was.
And then I'm pretty sure by 12th grade it was like, yeah, it's flipped now. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, everything we told you before is really wrong. Like actually those grains, pretty much none of them are good for you.
It's such a restrictive way to look at all of that.
Yeah, they're like,
also,
hey, don't
the only pyramid.
Actually, dairy and grains, all bad for you. What'd you just say? That's half my food pyramid. What? Anyway.
The only pyramid that matters is Ron Swanson's pyramid.
The pyramid of manliness or something like that.
Yeah, something like I forget the exact.
No crying unless you're looking at the Grand Canyon or whatever he says. Yeah.
Are the scissors broken in your house, son?
Isn't that when he's teaching the? Isn't that when he's teaching the Boy Scouts or whatever?
Basketball.
The basketball.
Basketball. That's right.
That whole episode's so great.
I love when he throws the chair. He throws the chair like Bobby Knight or whatever.
Yeah. And that's because Aziz's character Tom, he's being like a corrupt referee the whole time.
Yeah, because his ex-girlfriend
or Ron
ex-wife.
is into his ex-wife. Yeah.
Well, they're dating. They're dating at that point.
Yeah, Ron and her are dating. Oh, okay. Anyway, sorry. A little aside. Kena Bridge of Spirits, awesome obviously. Game coming to Xbox. I'm gonna guess, this summer it'll be out on Xbox. Excellent game.
You're welcome, guys. You're welcome.
Probably announced during a showcase is.
And I realized
today.
I realize this is different than a PlayStation first party developed game. I realize that. I'm just
obviously
silly. I understand it's not the same as them putting Gran Turismo on Xbox or something.
But hey, you guys need the games, so you
But also Pentiment is coming to Switch or PS5 or both. And it's
Switch for sure. Yeah.
It's the equivalent. We'll
take that garbage.
In terms of resources.
It's Pentiment grounded in Sea of Thieves and the rock and roll one, Hi-Fi Rush. So it's good games.
That's already on there.
But none of them are they're. I mean, it's not bringing Halo on the PS5. They might someday, but they're not doing that yet. Now, if that happens,
Halo and Gears
I'll be
are still not PS5. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it does happen, I'll just be like, okay, whatever. More people get to play those games, but it's.
Yeah.
But
the internet would be it's like.
The number of digital funerals being held for Xbox would be hilarious. There'd be digital funerals for Xbox everywhere.
Yeah.
It'd be very fun.
Forza 2, I would actually lump in, considering the quality. I would lump them in with Gears and Halo.
I would too. Yeah. If Forza Horizon came out on PS5, I'd be like, huh.
Yeah. Whoa.
The amount of grown men that would be taking their Xboxes out back and just, gun to it,
throwing over balconies,
dude,
and
I wouldn't have believed you if we didn't already see.
They have, I don't know.
Yeah, if we didn't already see a wave of this, I wouldn't believe it. But there was already a wave of this when there was. You remember these rumors that were really strong rumors, and YouTubers were quitting playing Xbox, and people were throwing Xbox away and buying a PS5.
Over rumors, and even still, even if it wasn't rumors, it's you're an adult. What are you doing?
It was very, very crazy. And that's when Phil Spencer, remember, he put out that statement we hear you. We have more to say next week. And it's you're going to give people another week to be depressed and act crazy?
Yes.
Just tell them it's not going to be Halo. Calm them down, please.
Yeah,
that's what they want to hear.
No. It's hilarious.
Anyway, all right. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I never played the first one. I know some people liked it. It got middling reviews to above average reviews, somewhere in those ranges. Swimming in sevens for sure at best. But I know some people really liked it. But anyway, the sequel has been announced for 2024, and there's a reveal trailer for that. We've talked about this a little bit already. How Larian Studio has made it very clear that Baldur's Gate 3 was their D&D thing. That was their agreement. That's all they're working on. They're not planning anything else. They're not planning on Baldur's Gate 4 or an expansion. They're moving on to other things, and it seems to really be true. They've recently talked about 2 projects they're working on that are internal IP that they're developing. So it could be a continuation, I would assume, of Divinity Original Sin, probably 3, if I had to guess, that they wouldn't just do a spinoff or a reboot. I would imagine they'll do Divinity Original Sin 3. And then maybe a new IP, sounds like they've got some money to work with now to grow.
Yeah.
And to do some things. So
good for them.
Yeah, good for them. Why not? I also like that they're not boxing themselves in. I feel like that's a studio that has really found its like swagger, its confidence in what it does and what it wants to do. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to do that. And I kind of respect that. But with that news, there's news of Hasbro talking to lots of partners, is the quote, about making another Baldur's Gate game without Larian. So they, of course, are hoping to continue on the success of Baldur's Gate 3 and create additional games in the future. No surprise there. It just wouldn't be Larian, at least not at this point, doing that. So, boy, I would hate to be the development team stepping into those shoes.
Yeah, because the inevitable comparisons, well, they did that, and you're not doing it. So,
yeah. Who was the company that
a totally different game by that point?
Don't you
like
think?
A first-person shooter. Yeah.
Dude,
just a totally Baldur's Gate 4. It's a first-person shooter now. That way you can't compare it at all, like on any level.
have EA make it, and it's just like that Immortals of Avium game.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Throwing magic.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Just doing Doctor Strange. You're doing Doctor Strange.
Yeah. So I mean, more power to Larian. They came in, conquered, and then moved on to other stuff. Good for them, man.
Right.
Good for them. All right, there was an Indie World presentation this week. It was a little lackluster in terms of announcements, but a few that are worth calling out. I watched a couple
one for sure that I was like, "Whoa, I didn't know that was a game," and it's coming out in July. So that's
cool. I think that's probably the biggest one, right? That's the Ninja Turtles one.
Yeah,
that was cool.
It's a roguelike type of like do it over again.
Hades,
whatever.
Hades
multiplayer Hades, where it's like the four of you going out.
Has an isometric view like Hades does.
Exactly, and you're getting upgrades along the way. Like, what do I want to do, this or this? And for that particular run, maybe getting some permanent upgrades later on.
Yep. And room layout changes, boss modifiers, all that stuff that you would have in a Hades type game.
Did not expect this, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's called TMNT Splintered Fate is the name of that one. So that's coming out in July. So it's a quick announcement and coming out in 3 months. That's pretty cool.
I'm not gonna say it looks amazing. It looks fine, but
I agree with you.
Well, the fun factor should be there. Yeah.
The character portraits that are hand drawn look cool.
They do.
Oh, like all the actual like hand drawn like kind of character portraits. Those look rad. But the actual game itself is it looks
it looks good, but it feels like it's not like it looks bad, but it just has been done. It didn't pop out at me as like,
right.
Oh, I haven't seen this before. Like, no, I've seen this a lot. But
yeah.
Anyway, I never was a big Atari gamer outside of things like Pitfall, Pac-Man, some of the classics, Grand Prix, things like that. But I know that Yar's Revenge was kind of a classic game on the Atari that a lot of old school gamers really loved. And that IP is being resurrected at the request of nobody. But it's coming back.
Is that what this is?
It's called Yar's Rising. It's being made by Way Forward, the folks who made Shantae games and River City Girls. And they're making this side-scrolling action adventure of one of Atari's classic games. So this is called Yar's Rising. It's a new game in that IP in that series. So
interesting.
Yar's Rising. Yeah.
Finally, guys. Finally.
The return of Yars.
Yars.
Two other ones I wanted to highlight real quick. One, it's been on my wish list for Steam for quite a while since it was announced a while ago. I don't know how to pronounce it. Shim, I think is how you say it. It's SCHIM. It's this 3D platformer where you have to stay in the shadows. You look like a little frog shadow thing kind of bouncing around. It looks awesome. It looks very much like, at least art style wise, a Jeff game. I don't know if it'll be one that you like playing, but art style wise, right up your alley for sure. And it finally got a release date of July 18th. So
yeah, I like this. This looks interesting.
Yeah, cool little puzzle platformer game. You got to stay in the shadows. The art style looks really neat. So I'm excited.
Oh, I love this art style.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very, very cool use of the shadows, of course, which is where that's the only place you're safe, basically, is in the shadows. So that's pretty cool. And last but not least, for me at least, SteamWorld Heist 2. It's a sequel to the side-scrolling turn-based RPG in the SteamWorld universe. I loved the first one. I thought it was so fun. It was a really good time. So I'm excited for this too. That comes out on August 8th. The SteamWorld games, to me, even if I don't really like, I didn't really dive into the SteamWorld build as much as when I get a city builder itch at some point, I might dive back into it. But I still really enjoy their vibes. They're very kind of lighthearted, whimsical. They just do a really nice job of kind of making it fun. So I really like the SteamWorld stuff. So.
Well, it's cool that because it's like different genres of like different like games that they've made, but like part of the SteamWorld world, which is cool. So
yeah, they did the Hands of Fate, which I own, and I played the opening of the card. It's a card RPG battler, kind of a Slay the Spire style with battles. And I didn't get super far into it, but yeah, you're right. They've tried a whole bunch of different genres.
And Dig,
yeah, like, the Dig games, of course, the original, like SteamWorld Dig 2 is one of the best of that type of. Hey, Dave the Diver is a similar format, by the way, where it's like there's a whole world to explore and it's dangerous down there, and go gather what you can, try not to die. That way you can get back to the surface and then do a bunch of things to upgrade. And Dave the Diver kind of has a similar gameplay loop to stuff like SteamWorld Dig and SteamWorld Dig 2. All right, moving on real quick here to Game Pass and PlayStation Plus updates. So for Game Pass, there's a new game out called Harold Halibut, which has such a unique look. Did you play it, Jeff?
I downloaded it on my Xbox Series X. I almost forgot which series I had because I have both and I still need to sell my other one. But
so much money right now, dude.
Just drowning in money, so much money. And friends and being popular or whatever. So like,
you need the little the Tom
I use my Series S as a stool for friends that come over because I'm so popular.
Wow,
and rich.
I use mine for a cutting board when I'm cutting up chicken.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. That's how much money I'm drowning in. But no, but the claymation style, as Ben Wyatt calls it.
Claymation.
Oh man, I need to get more time in my claymation. That
I compared it to Avatar.
That as a game is just so fascinating to me, and also hard to wrap my head around. Even though they've had behind the scenes on how they made the game, a claymation game, I'm still like, okay, but like how from what you filmed to making it a game and interactive? That's crazy to me. I don't understand how they did it. But even then, there are obvious limitations in the game. Like if you look at reviews, they're like, yeah, you're not really doing much. It's cool that you're walking around from A to B in claymation. Like it's crazy that they figured out how to do that, but you're still not doing a lot. It's not very interactive as a game. I'm
assuming it's a story game, right?
I understood those limitations. Yes, and quite long. I saw a review say it was like 8 to 10 hours, and I'm like, you got to be shitting me. Like that should be a 3-hour game. Are you kidding me?
Walking simulators are usually like 5 hours at the most.
Tops,
average.
Even that feels a little long for one, but yeah.
Just for the art style and a gaming factor. The price of free $99, I guess technically.
It
was a no-brainer to install, and at least I will be trying it out whenever whenever the gummy hits strong enough, I guess, because it's going to trip me out.
That game seems like if you're on something, you're like, whoa.
All right, so we got Harold Halibut. We got Orcs Must Die 3. I never played that one, but that's out now. Dan, you mentioned you want to play a sports game. EA Sports NHL 24 is on there. If you want to go give that one a whirl.
There we go.
Aiden Chronicle 100 Heroes hits Game Pass this week as well. I am going to download it on Game Pass just on the off chance that I fire it up and I'm like, this just isn't for me. Like this is everything I didn't want it to be. Like for some reason it doesn't do what I expect it to do. I expect it to be awesome and I expect to love it.
I'm getting that delicious physical copy. I'm getting
it. If I do love it the way I expect to, I'm absolutely buying this on Steam so I can have it on the Steam Deck. But I'm just going to try it on Game Pass first because it's there. It's free. Might as well give it a, free because I already pay for it. Might as well give it a whirl. The other one I wanted to highlight, we already talked about Have a Nice Death before. That's cool that's being added. I know that we've talked about that game a few times. And then Manor Lords, which is a kind of a strategy, city building, it looks like a really interesting game. A little bit of survival, a little bit of city, but all the things that Jeff loves mixed together. Manor Lords. So that one looks cool. Yeah. And then there's a bunch of games leaving, but nothing super notable. I guess maybe Ravenlock. We've talked about that game before. That's leaving the service, along with a few others. PlayStation Plus games are, speaking of Dave the Diver, is available on PlayStation Plus. The Crew 2, Deliver Us Mars, and Lego Marvel's Avengers. And then also to the premium subscription, you can play Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare, Star Wars Rebel Assault 2, and Medieval. And then there's nearly 30 games leaving the service over the next 4 or 5 weeks,
dude,
including 7 Final Fantasy games leaving the service. Like, that's a pretty rough month for the PlayStation Plus service.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I guess the time when
time's up.
Yeah, time's up. Gotta go.
Yeah. The idea is like, hey, you've had free access to it, and if you want to continue playing it, just go buy the game digitally if you don't already have it. Like your save is sitting there in the Sony cloud, like it's there. You just have to purchase it if you haven't yet. Which most of those games, if you look at the Final Fantasy titles, the newest one I think was 15. So they're all relatively cheap and affordable, or you can get them on an upcoming sale for pretty cheap. So
yeah,
it is what it is. That happens. Although I do feel like something about the PS Plus service. I know they've got a lot of options. I know that they've added a lot of good games, but sometimes I'm still like, yeah, it's still not as good as Game Pass. I don't know why. In my head, I still just.
Dude, I'm there with you. I'm 100% there with you. Yeah.
I don't know if we would actually have a chart and
Yeah.
map it out. Maybe it's actually pretty equivalent. I don't know.
And
But
you can even point out the fact that Game Pass does have like 3 different versions of it, much like PS Plus does.
Yeah.
Like packages,
True.
I guess. And we just view them differently because like one has EA Play and that feels like a different product and you're paying for something different. And PC is a different platform, so it feels like you're paying for something different. I don't know.
Again, I think it's
crazy to think of.
Lack of emphasis, and I don't know why they haven't freaking figured this out yet. And I don't know, maybe they have like stats behind the scenes that are saying otherwise, but they have a pool that they can dive into of classic stuff. PS1, PS2, PS3. Now the issue with PS3 is it's all streaming, right? So they need to freaking figure out how you can download those instead of doing the streaming. But if they can tap into that that whole pool of stuff, like then the tide kind of turns a little bit because it's like
the distinct differences for like Game Pass owners, or at least the defense, I guess, of if you're an Xbot is like, well, but Game Pass has all of those games in the main tier and day one games. Like in the Xbox Game Pass, you don't have to get Ultimate for that.
The day one thing is then on the opposite side,
right? On the opposite, and I actually understand Sony's like desire to be like, we're just going to shield those games under a full price. Like, I mean, I get that because people get like put harder and like so many hours into those games and poured over them, and they've even crunched over them. So like, I get them being like, nah, man, you got to pay for that. That's a upper tier gaming experience. Not that Xbox isn't, but I actually understand. Why they want to monetize that. I don't know.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, maybe it's just because I'm into the retro stuff and older stuff, but Sony's been around for a long time, you know, not as long as Nintendo, but they've been around for a while. They got a lot of stuff they can play around with it. They need to start putting. I mean, how long did it take for Legend of Dragoon, which is literally their game? Like they made and published that game. It took months for that to appear, like a year plus for that to appear on there. Like, what are you guys doing? Like,
maybe they know that the game doesn't hold up all that great, so they don't want to ruin your memories.
Listen here. The voice acting is excellent.
I'm just saying.
No, it's not.
It's bad, but I know it's got like a fond place in a lot of people's hearts, and I totally understand that. I think that PS Plus has its merits for sure. I actually really loved on my Vita playing old PS1 games on there. That was my favorite place to play PS1 games.
Well,
they looked really good on that little screen. It was nice and crisp, but it was small enough that things weren't blown up and looked like ugly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I really liked, and I just liked the portability of it. So I still have all those. I know that like maybe if I log in now, like I don't know if the shop even works for the Vita. I don't know. I haven't checked.
The Vita's does still, I believe. PSP is off.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure the Vita is still there.
But yeah, I've got a pretty good PS1 library sitting there on the Vita, and I love that.
Which is funny because you have that, you can buy those, but why are those not on the PS Plus? Like,
dude, I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea.
You can get can you? Wait, maybe I'm second guessing myself now. Can you get Xenogears?
I'm pretty sure Xenogears is on there. I'm pretty sure. I know for sure both Suikoden games are on there because I of course own both of those. I replayed through both of them on my Vita, and just loved doing that. Played Final Fantasy VII on there. Played a whole bunch of other ones. A whole bunch of those classic PS1 RPGs. Chrono Cross before they did the remaster of it.
Why isn't it on there?
So yeah.
It's
Last but not least, Keanu Reeves is reportedly in line to play Shadow in the Sonic 3 movie.
Whoa.
Maybe this is something you guys already knew. This was news to me. I thought that was hilarious.
I
heard it days
ago.
That.
I can't say I
heard
knew
days
that.
ago.
Yeah.
Greatest casting of all time.
It's perfect.
Right? Was he always a chill kind of character? I thought.
I have absolutely no idea.
Dude, I don't know. I actually don't know what Shadow should sound like. I just feel like now that I'm imagining Keanu Reeves doing his voice, I'm like, yeah, man, that's exactly who should do it. Of course. Like, love it.
Well, Shadow, because there's a Shadow the Hedgehog game, which I've never played, but I just remember he has guns in that game.
Was that on the Wii? I feel like I played it a little bit. Maybe I didn't.
It might have been on the Wii. I think
360, maybe?
I swear it was like PS2 gen. So PS2.
Okay.
I think. I'm pretty sure, yeah. But I just remember Shadow having guns, which is like, whoa, a Sonic game where they have guns. Whoa, so edgy. Shadow, so edgy.
All right, so Shadow the Hedgehog.
I just can't wait for Shadow to be like, whoa, Sonic's fast. Like,
whoa.
Dan, you're right. It was a PS2 and Xbox and GameCube era game from 2005. Yep.
He's got a bazooka on the cover. I forgot about that. He's got a bazooka.
It's not a bazooka.
He's holding a bazooka with a scope on it, so he's doing some long distance bazooka shooting.
Man, it's so edgy.
Yeah, very edgy. That was very early. They probably had some kind of Puddle of Mud song playing during it. You know what I mean? Like some kind of like early 2000s grunge rock.
Or what's the one from Prince of Persia? Stand alone.
Yeah, what's that band?
I know Godsmack.
Godsmack. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh boy. All right. Also for those of you who are like me and still dabbling in Valheim from time to time, tomorrow they have a new trailer coming out for Ashlands, and probably we are assuming a release date, which is expected to be, late spring, maybe into June. That'll come out. If they release that in June, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I've got the Elden Ring DLC and Ashlands from Valheim.
That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna do that on purpose. Just to get you, Tim. What do you?
I will die. I won't be doing anything else.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's being announced on Monday. We'll see when that's happening. I feel like it might be sooner than that. I feel like it might be a announcement and release within a month or so. I could be wrong, but they've been releasing patches that seem to be prepping for a bigger update. So yeah.
Is this the last one? Is this the last biome?
I believe so. There was talk of doing like an ocean biome or maybe something in the far north. So it's possible that there's one more. But this is if on your map you go to the very bottom section. Right now it was just like a wasteland of like there's these little fire guys running around, and there's something you can mine that's kind of useless. It was like placeholder stuff. And you can build down there if you want to. You can go right. You'll just keep getting attacked by fire guys. But now they've actually built it out, and they've got all kinds of new, features and build pieces and all kinds of stuff they're adding. So it's another major one, just like the Mistlands was a major update.
Nice.
So yep, looking forward to that. All right, let's wrap things up with other things we're playing or watching. I can get mine out of the way quick. I don't really have anything. I really was hoping to play at least one other game to talk about today. I downloaded the demo for it. I keep hearing great things about Mini Shoot Adventures. Have you guys heard of this game?
Mini Shoot
Adventures. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's on Steam it's got 96% positive. People are loving it. It's kind of this old arcade looking game, but the art style is really colorful and cool. But people are comparing it to like a twin stick shooter meets Zelda with the way you explore, like the way that you go and like upgrade and unlock stuff. So I don't know if it's actually, Anyway, kind of a bullet hell twin stick shooter meets a Metroidvania or Zelda game. I'm like, huh? That sounds cool. So
it does sound cool.
Anyway, you're a little spaceship, and your viewpoint is above, and you're strafing around, shooting super fast paced at all these enemies and stuff. So
I like the way this looks.
Yeah,
I think it looks cool. It actually kind of reminds me of Did you ever play Sword of Ditto?
Uh-uh.
No, and like the actual like style of the art reminds me of sort of. That's a fun actually.
Yeah, the last time I played at least a spaceship kind of shooting game like this was Graceful Explosion Machine, which I love that game. That game was awesome. That's side scrolling. So yeah, this looks cool. I'm looking forward to trying it. I just haven't played it yet. So other than that, haven't really been. I mean, I'm all caught up on Shogun now. Can't wait. I think the finale is this week.
Oh my gosh, that last episode, I was like tense and uncomfortable the whole time.
Oh yeah. And this show is not only excellent, but it is gory. It is so it is, and they don't shy away from it. But man, is it so good? It's one of my favorite TV things in a long time.
That actor who plays Mariko.
Yeah.
She is. I mean, she was already in Monarch right before this show came out. She was like the lead in the Monarch show, the Legacy of Monsters or whatever that's called, the Apple show. And now she's directly following that up with this. She's going to be everywhere after this show, dude.
Yeah, man. It's funny you bring her up because all the actors are very good, but she has. I know this is going to sound silly, but I just keep noticing it every time they do it. She has this way of like looking at other characters or at the camera, like the way that she kind of like slowly shifts her gaze and then locks eyes. Or I'm like, dude, this girl just owns a scene when she's in it. She's really good.
It's she's really good at I mean, the character is forced a lot of times to humble herself in front of other people that are not worthy of being humbled in front of.
But there's so much happening in the eyes.
Yes,
as
you see it on her
things,
face.
I'm like
internal struggle that you're like
she doesn't mean that at all. Bro. She didn't mean any of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, she's really, really good. Yeah. But all the actors, of course, in it are excellent.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great show.
So yeah, that's the main thing I've been watching. Jeff, what about you? What have you been watching or playing?
I'm season 2 now on The Sopranos and just having the best time, dude. The show is just hitting its stride, even though it was already great in season 1. But like in terms of Tony Soprano's writing and portrayal, he just feels more and more like a real person. That James Gandolfini just disappeared completely, and he was Tony Soprano. Just feels more and more like the most relatable freaking gangster on the planet. He's so funny, dude. I shared the clip in the chat of him kind of playfully mocking the fat guy for getting out of a car slow, and
Bobby,
be like, right? You ever tried a salad? And like he's just roasting him. Stop leaning on my car. You're gonna tip it over. It's so funny. And there's more stuff like that too, where he's like, oh gosh, I can't even remember the scenario. But there was a guy in his they were talking about his mother and him have a very, very contentious relationship in season 2. And he's just like, they're talking about it. Do not resuscitate because she's not doing well. Mm-hmm. She's not like literally on ventilators, but they're talking about the idea of it because she's older and she's not doing well. And he's like, what do I care? What do I care about it? She's still going to be a bitch if she's alive or dead. Like, it's so funny.
Yeah, to me, James Gandolfini, he laid the groundwork for people, in my opinion, for people like Bryan Cranston to do what he did with Breaking Bad.
Exactly.
Like, there hadn't really been a lead like that I had seen, at least not in the TV medium. That
not for a lot of people, because that's why this is such a game changer of a show, from a writing perspective and from an acting perspective, especially. Yeah. It's just like the characters just feel like
supporting cast, of course, was all great too, but it's really all about him. It was like James Gandolfini is just a brilliant.
And him and Edie Falco just genuinely feel like they're married in the show. It's like just one of the most organic bickering I've ever heard in a TV show. It just feels so natural and grounded. Yep. And then the next minute they're like lovey-dovey, and it's like, that's marriage, bro. That's like, there's got to be those moments of conflict that you just forget about. It was just great. Yeah. Anyway, I love that show so much. I also watched Conan Must Go, which just came out on Max. Or as he said in the Hot Ones episode, it used to be called HBO Max, but that became too popular, so they changed it to Max.
I love the way he described that. When he said that, I so thought of you. I was just like, Jeff probably loved that line.
Oh, that was so perfect.
Yeah.
The freaking roasting at high volume. It's so good. But the episodes, there's only 4 in the season. I actually don't know if the drop method is going to be different. Like next week, we're going to get another episode, but they dropped 4. And that seems like that's all we're going to get. And it was Norway, Argentina, Thailand, and somewhere
Ireland,
else.
one of them?
In Ireland, yeah, Ireland is home country, I guess, because he'd been there before though. But there was those 4 countries, and Norway is the first episode, and that place I want to go to the most in the world. Like right now, currently, I'm pretty obsessed with that place and its culture and learning its language and stuff. So I'm probably gonna have to go back and watch that one again, honestly, because the whole time I was like just laughing at the jokes, and I forgot to look at the surroundings and the way. Yeah. Well, actually, he does explore the culture. He does explore how reserved they are. he gets right in some old guy's face, and he's like, "So does this make you really uncomfortable?" It's so funny, dude.
Dude, I have to recommend people, if they like Conan, also watch that Hot Ones episode. Maybe watch that and then watch Conan Must Go. But that Hot Ones episode was so wild. It was so...
And you have to remember when he's doing these bits, there's silence in the room. Like you can listen to the podcast for what he actually brings to the table in terms of comedy and how like the smattering of laughter comes in. But like when you watch Hot Ones, it's fully produced and there's music, really intense music. And you forget that it's just quiet and they're just absorbing the heat between bites. Sure. And
dude, the whole bit with his doctor
just shouting
was
and
killing me. The doctor coming in to check on him, and he would like put the stethoscope on his tongue. I'm like, what is he doing? What's he listening? It was so funny, man. It was so funny.
Conan's the best late night guy. He's the best out of all.
He brought everybody's favorite producer from his show to Argentina with him. Jordan Schlansky, the guy.
Oh my god, dude, the Jordan
very deadpan, and Conan acts like he hates him 1,000%. But like the Argentina, he had Jordan dress up in like a silly outfit, and Jordan couldn't get over it. So he was trying to go through the rehearsed lines and say, "Here's what we're doing here today," and he just couldn't stop laughing. And I've never seen Jordan Schlansky break. That's the famous thing for him. Is he never?
I've seen it once. But
maybe when they were in Italy, I think it happened too because they went to Italy together.
Yeah, I think there was that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like he couldn't stop, and Conan the whole time was just like, "You're just useless, aren't you?" Like roasting
that guy is so just his serious face is just, man, dude, this guy. But they bounce off. It's just because of who Conan is and just how just.
And then Conan, I just love his ability to go to Ireland and still mock some things that are, cultural to them. Like they're teaching him slang and he's just making stuff up that are just not words. I'm gonna get to piss in me jar and give it to you. Like it's not an expression there. He's just saying it to them and.
I mean, he's Irish. It's fine. He can say it. He's Irish. It's okay.
And to them, that means just paying the tab or whatever. Like, what? He's just totally disrespectful to it in such like the funniest way possible, and not in a way that's like you can really be offended by. And he's just one of the most entertaining figures on the planet. He really is.
Did you guys watch Conan like back in the before TBS? Like,
back in the late night. Do
you guys have a favorite bit? Do you guys have like a particular favorite?
All my favorite bits are from the late night era when it was like the masturbating bear and like the to Walker Texas Ranger lever.
I thought the dog.
Oh yes, the Walker. Yeah. Thank you.
I always thought the dog was really funny.
Triumph,
Triumph the insult comic.
The TV that came down
with
and
the mouse.
With the mouse. Oh my god,
Arnold
that's the late night era. He did so much stuff that he could never do in prime time. They would have Bill Clinton come in going woo woo. Yeah, it would never be like. The accurate Bill Clinton voice, never.
Woo, my smash hits jingle all the way.
Jingle all
the Arnold
way.
One.
That was Robert Schmeigel, I think, doing the voice for that.
Oh, okay.
Frequent collaborator, but like it's the minute you hear him talk like Arnold, you're like, that's so stupid.
Just that and the Walker. Yeah, the Walker was.
And I love when he has his from the Conan. I don't know if he started this on Tonight Show, but he definitely carried it over to Conan, the TBS show, where he would have his prop, whatever you want to call it, prop designer, prop guy, Bill Tull, explain how he made a certain prop to them. And it'd be like, just put some scotch tape here and then put the plastic there, taped it together. Boom, you got a gun. And it would just cut back to Conan. He's like, thank you. Like, and he's just explaining. And every time he ends it with boom, you got this.
Yeah, no, I loved watching Conan. I also just loved his opening every time he come out and do his little the little puppet dance with the hips or whatever, and then clip it.
Dance.
So good, man. Like he's always been my favorite.
Was it Max Weinstein?
Max Weinberg?
The staring gag that they
Weinberg, thank you.
Weinberg 7.
I knew exactly who you meant too when you said it. The drummer.
But they would have sometimes where they would have a bit together, and Conan would do the like ha ha ha, like exaggerated laugh, and then Max would laugh, and then Conan would look serious, and then Max would look serious, and then it was just like really awkward, but it was hilarious because like it's like this Max guy is just the drummer, like what's it? But he's like, it was just really good back and forth.
I don't know how either of them kept a straight face because they clearly show that they can break and laugh really hard.
Yeah,
when the occasion calls for it. They committed so hard to that bit. Sorry, I have to move on, but I did want to promote Current Cinema has a new episode coming out on Thursday, and it's because Kyle and I watched Rebel Moon Part 2: The Stargiver and recorded an episode about it.
I can't wait. It was
a lot of fun.
Yeah,
mostly love, right?
It's a spoiler chat because the movie deserves to be spoiled and talked about in that context because it's just so terrible.
Does it deserve to be
nothing?
Talked about?
Well, if you're going to do a podcast, I'm trying to say if you're going to do a podcast about it, you got to talk about everything that happens in it because it makes no sense. You have to talk out specifics to try and make.
We got to get some clips on that, right? Get some clips on that.
Maybe. We also briefly mentioned Civil War, but it's mainly about the Rebel Moon Part 2 travesty to cinema, I guess.
Travesty.
The joke's on all of us, I guess.
Is that the subtitle?
Jokes on culture.
The subtitle is like Scar Giver, which is so ironic that everyone who's watched it has felt scarred. You know what I mean? Like it's just
they call her the Scar Giver at least 37 times in the movie. It's crazy.
What does she give people? Scars. Got it.
Yeah. Can you show me the origin story of where she got the name Scargiver from? No.
No.
What if I give you 2 movies to do it? No.
It's in part 3.
We're not gonna do that.
We're gonna show her give somebody a new scar, and then they'll be like, "Oh, that's why they call you Scargiver."
Can I just say real quick,
make any sense.
These 2 movies, and I haven't seen them. This is me just assuming that they're as bad as everyone says they are. Okay, so I actually haven't seen them. But when I hear people talk about video game stories just not being good, they're just not the best. And then I see movies like this still getting made. I'm like, you shut your mouth. I have seen so many better. Like I can think off the top of my head of probably like 30 video game stories that are high quality and well done and well told. Like, shut up about this. But the movies are still the best way to tell a visual story. No, they're not. Like maybe the top of the top are way above the top of the top of gaming. Okay, fair enough. But like at top to bottom, I would say there's way worse movies.
Yeah, for sure.
Man. Whatever.
Yeah, especially when these are like Zack Snyder movies. I think of the CG, and I'm like, oh, they're trying to emulate a video game here, like a video game cutscene at this point, because those visuals are almost on par with each other currently. Yeah. So that's interesting to think about. But yeah, please go watch that episode. I think that comes out on Thursday, the 25th.
Okay, cool.
Let's watch. I also saw Guy Ritchie's new movie, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which is, actually based on a true story. About Winston Churchill commissioned. Well, first off, he had confidential materials that became public domain in 2016. So these came from like his diaries or some crap like that. When he was in charge,
it looked a little bit like Inglourious Bastards, but like different.
Yeah. It's basically Inglourious Bastards, but with even more casual killings of Nazis. Like even more. Like it's crazy how many freaking people they mow down so casually and competently in such a fun it makes me want to say America, even though they're all British people, but America.
Dude, you got Henry Cavill and Alan Ritchson are both just brick houses. They're so huge.
Oh my gosh,
they're both huge. Like might as well just have a Hemsworth brothers show up too. Like have Chris Hemsworth come in and just have the full.
It's cool you mentioned the Glorious Bastards too, because the main villain was remember the German guy that was one of the bastards in
yes,
he's very intimidating looking with the jaw and so he's the bad guy, Nazi bad guy in this movie.
Okay, he's got a great look. It's
like, oh yeah, he does. He's so intimidating and unsettling.
Great look.
He's great. But yeah, Henry Cavill's like the leader of these guys that this team that he puts together.
He's Brad Pitt.
And they pretty much, and they try to establish, I should say, the plot pretty early is like, we're not trying to prevent World War II. We're trying to stop the Nazis from getting good at this one particular aspect of World War II.
Oh, interesting.
So we can actually have people come and fight the war.
Okay.
That need to come here. It's the U-boats specifically. That's the thing they're trying to get some type of ground on in terms of fighting them, because those were so
U-boats were just destroying.
They were so advanced. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so like they tell you it's not like a big stakes, super huge stakes thing. So you're already like, okay, I'm following you now, movie. And especially it helps to know that it's a super low key, highly unofficial, highly illegal mission that they're doing, not endorsed formally at all by or sanctioned by the UK government. So all of the stuff that they're doing is just goes against the very, very nature of war at that time, especially like it was like I fire a shot, you fire a shot, and then you come in from a battlefield side over there. Okay, you don't raid us in the middle of the daytime, like, and just start indiscriminately murdering people. But they totally did that to a Nazi base. It was so gratifying to watch. It's such a great scene. Oh my god, they straight up just cut wires through they cut the gates or whatever. It was like just wire, and just walked in the daytime and just started murdering Nazis in their own camp. It was such a crazy scene.
It sounds
and they're
lovely.
like they're cracking jokes at each other the whole time, and like it's just not something you see that often.
Where does it stack up to something like Inglourious Bastards or other Guy Ritchie movies?
Oh, it's fun, but I don't know. There were some moments that I think was trying to pass as the Guy Ritchie wittiness that I just felt didn't land the same for me.
Okay.
So some of the jokes don't hit as well, but Alan Ritchson is a brick shit house of a human being to watch him fight.
He's awesome.
So gratifying. So I felt like Guy Ritchie channeled him well.
He pulls a guy through a minivan window in Reacher. I mean, he's insane. He's
crazy.
So
fun. And in this one, he's a bow and arrow guy, and he shoots the bow and arrows so hard that it goes through two guys and they get stuck.
Oh, Legolas. Okay, cool.
But he's like brick shithouse Legolas. Yeah, so it's like it's a lot of fun to watch that. And he's also the melee guy, so he's really good with knives.
Two bows.
So he has some great scenes of that. And he's like a Danish guy, so he's got like an accent. It's such a fun character. So Guy Ritchie, I feel like he was definitely channeling some Snatch, Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels characters with that role.
That was Alan Ritchson's role. He's got
Alan Ritchson's role. Okay. Yeah. He's really fun for sure. I'm trying to remember who else is in it, but whatever. There's a bunch of very attractive people in the movie, so whatever. You'll find that out. It's a really
Henry Cavill's all right looking. He's fine.
Yeah, he's kind of insane in it too, which is a joy to watch him stretch. Speaking of insane, the last movie I saw, also brand new, Abigail. It's about a child ballet vampire.
I've seen this advertised.
Basically. Once they finally reveal the vampire, which the movie builds up to it, and you're like, I saw the trailer. Can you get to it? It's like 30 minutes, and it's like, okay, she's a vampire. Got it. Like, you should get to it a little faster, because it would have served the movie better to not have that in the trailers at all. But anyway, once it hits that part, it's just such a fun ride, dude. I mean, I love when characters. This team specifically did Ready or Not and Scream 6, and I love when they have characters just go, "What the hell just happened?" after something crazy happened right behind them.
They're speaking for the audience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just love those type of moments in horror movies where they don't just try to play it off like, oh, it's over. Well, anyway, like I love it when they actually pause, take a minute, and go, "What the hell was that? Was some stupid crap."
That's one of the things I loved about movies like Get Out, because I felt like Daniel Kaluuya, as well as his buddy over the phone, and who also is there.
The whole title of Nope. Like that Nope moment where he opens his truck and goes,
yes,
nope, never mind.
Exactly.
Closes his door. Nope.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, I love
how any
moments.
Rational person should react to that moment.
Feels real.
Yeah. Abigail's a lot of fun. Dan Stevens, who comes off of playing like a vet for Titans in Godzilla X Kong New Empire, which is a stupid role. He comes in to this role and he's bringing just this nuttiness to him. That guy is just so much fun to watch when he's playing a dirtbag. And
he needs more roles like this, because stuff like Downton Abbey, where he really kind of made his name a bit.
Oh, yeah. I saw the first couple episodes of
he
that
was Beast
show.
and Beauty and the Beast. Like, he's just very much like the stoic hero. I don't know. He needed more roles.
He
like
stretches
this.
really a big time in this role, in my opinion, compared to at least his other live action stuff. I know he's done Solar Opposites too, which is like formerly a Justin Roiland show, but it's equally nutty to Rick and Morty compared to that.
Oh, okay.
And he replaced Justin Roiland during all that stuff that happened with him, that was revealed with him. So like, and he fit right in, actually. He kind of works. So I was like, oh my God, he's actually really funny. I didn't know that.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a cool movie. It's kind of stupid at the same time, but in the best ways, where you're like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I like that.
So much blood. It's so dumb. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got.
Nice. Dan, what about you? Anything else you're playing or watching you want to highlight?
And I don't know if Jeff, you mentioned also finishing like on the podcast, Curb, last season of Curb. I don't know.
Yeah, that ended last Sunday, sadly.
Yeah. I think you didn't mention it either, which then made me forget to, because I finished it too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, end of 12 seasons of Curb.
12 seasons
spread out over
like
quite a white window.
years or whatever.
Yeah,
it took a lot of breaks. Yeah, and I love that they did proper homage to Seinfeld's ending, because even to date, people still talk about that finale. Like
they do.
Whether it's negative or positive,
and the Sopranos finale, which you'll get to at some point.
Yeah. That's the thing. I've studied the shit out of that finale. I can't wait to actually get there. So, I know exactly how it ends. That's the interesting part about Sopranos too, for me.
I know it's not his thing, but I was kind of like in my head, because clearly it's building up to, that at the end of Curb. Like it's building to it, and it's like, all right, like this seems really obvious. I wonder what's gonna maybe be different. But in my head, I kind of like had like an idea for something that was perhaps like darker, but like funny. But I don't think that's like his thing. So the way it kind of ended was like, oh, okay. And then it ends, and it's like, all right. But I mean, it's still funny. I don't know. I think I was expecting something else, just to be like, because it's like in my head, I'm like, he's building up to the thing where you think he's just going to do the same thing, and then it's just going to be this 180, and it's just like, oh, that's kind of crazy and funny. But yeah, it's I mean, that dude is still hilarious. He still writes hilarious things.
Yeah.
The last season is still very funny.
Arguments in between the larger story moments that are the funniest to me, like the intricate language stuff,
like
the English language.
Like just randomly singing J.G. Wentworth commercials. J.G. Wentworth.
Oh my gosh.
877 cash now. just randomly, like,
so ridiculous.
Just little bits like that are just nonsense. But yeah, it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it.
Stuff. I love the introduction of new people to the cast. I mean, every year it felt like they upped the ante, especially in the later seasons. But this year with like Bruce Springsteen and like Conan O'Brien, of course. Conan was great.
Conan just being such like kind of a dick, basically, like was funny.
There was somebody else. I guess Vince Vaughn was added like 3 seasons ago or 2 seasons ago, but he's been regular ever since. Yeah, and he's been so great. He's been such a great addition, especially with, like I said, the intricacy that they argue about in the human like English. You're like, none of this matters at all. Like even a little bit, move the story forward. But it's just the fact that they can bounce off each other so well. Yeah. It's whatever. And everything you heard about the show is true. It's kind of like Sopranos, where it's like, hey, you know that positive thing you heard about the show? It's true.
It's all true.
All of true. All of it.
It's a funny show. All of it. I already mentioned earlier, but yeah, Fallout 4 is like literally consumed my entire week. Like I just put Dragon's Dogma 2 on pause, a brand new video game that I was like, oh, I am enjoying this, but like, and then I was just like, oh, Fallout show? Oh, let me play Fallout 4 now. And that's all I've done all week. It's just Fallout 4.
I mean, I guess it's worth it. That show just rules so hard.
Yeah. And
it's so hard to not want to play one of those games after watching, honestly.
Well, it's like I installed the game and my PS5 was like, oh, you've played 115 hours of this previously. I was like, what? Like I did what? I don't remember playing that much of that game, but maybe that's what it was. I played 115 hours and got burnt out and never finished it. Because I love 3. 3 is still my favorite. And I've finished that game a couple of times. It's been a while since my last full playthrough, but I love 3. And then New Vegas, I did beat that one the one time. But yeah, 4, I don't know. For some reason, 4, I just didn't beat. And maybe I just played too much of it and just didn't get to the end and was just kind of like, all right, something else came out and distracted me. So, But I'm thinking this time I'll try to focus a bit more on this. I mean, I am wandering around and just looking at all the random There's even more of a focus to pick up all the random shit that you normally don't pick up in this game because you're using it for the crafting and like the base building aspect. Like, so it's actually important. So before, where it was just like you're picking that stuff up to just pick up because you're a lunatic, and you're
pick
just
up
like
old rusty cup, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I need 1,000 rusty cups. Maybe I can intricately stack them in the game somehow, and build whatever. But yeah, it actually all serves a purpose in this game because it basically like you break it down into like material and then that's used to build like, whatever it is that you're building. So
that's a smart way to use that kind of random loot that usually is only good for selling for like a few pieces of coins or whatever, but yeah,
exactly. But yeah, I'm enjoying just roaming around, exploring Boston because this takes place in Massachusetts, which is interesting. So yeah, it's I'm having a good time with it for sure.
Fallout up in your neck of the woods.
That's right. And it's 1-for-1. It looks exactly like real life. It's very I bet
accurate. It does. Yeah, no,
it's very accurate. I haven't gone to Fenway Park yet, but I remember in my first playthrough I did. So that actually is cool though.
Oh, that's where I parked the car near the shack.
Yeah, I parked my car down at Harvard Yard, and then I go to the bar and I get plastered. Me and my friends would get plastered, and then we go to the Packy. All right. Does anybody know what a Packy is? Do you guys know what a Packy is?
I assume it's like a slur for Pakistani. You're just being insensitive.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez. No, it's the liquor store, damn it.
That was me interpreting what Dan said, okay? I'm just
Well, that's what we call the liquor store over here, the Packy. The Packy. So, yeah. Totally makes sense. Totally makes sense, right? I don't actually know the correlation, to be honest. Maybe there's some sort of reasoning. I don't know. Maybe you're packing up the beer. I don't know. Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
With an accent, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, it is cool, like, seeing that landmark there and looking at the outside of it. Because I mean, I worked at Fenway Park, so otherwise I'd have no context for that place. Yes, I don't know if I've mentioned that before. I worked at Fenway Park back as I was getting out of high school. It was actually my first job. I worked on the grounds crew. Yeah, I worked on the grounds crew. My mom had a friend at work whose husband worked there. So it's kind of like one of those situations. Because otherwise, why would I be working at Fenway Park? I'm not going to college.
Such a cool job.
Yeah, because the grounds crew is like this actual, like, there were people there that were like going to college for the hell's that? What would be the major? It's not landscaping. That's not what the major is called.
That's
but
the
like
only
people
thing I can think of. Yeah.
People who do like work in like some of those people work at golf courses, for example. Like they do all like the lawn work and everything there. And there's an actual, like, you go to college and like learn that stuff because the guy who
grass studies.
Yeah, grass studies. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, the guy that ran the grounds crew is like very well known within that industry. I remember, I think it was 2000. Was it 2004, 2005? I forget who was because they always do a concert, like a big concert in Fenway Park, and the stage was like massive.
Did the Beatles start that whole thing?
No,
it was before then. I could swear the Beatles did Fenway, didn't they? And it was like,
did they?
The biggest deal? I don't remember.
I don't know.
I might be confusing that with another baseball stadium that they did, and it was like a big deal.
I'm trying to remember, was it Aerosmith? It might have been Aerosmith of the concert that I'm thinking of, but like the stage took up half the field, and then when they basically,
oh my god, it's like 2003. The first one was Bruce Springsteen. Dang. That's crazy.
Okay. Oh yeah. So that sounds familiar. Yeah, because I think I remember people talking about Bruce being there. And I think the one I'm thinking of was Aerosmith. But like basically, it took up half of the field, so all the sod on the field was like just destroyed. It was all gross and just mangled and everything. So they had to like overnight from like another state, like trucks and trucks and trucks loads of sod, which is like giant just slabs of like grass and dirt. So like all of us was like hands on deck, and we were all rolling that shit out, and like it was like insane.
By that point, you forget about the whole like spectacle of being in a place like that, working in a place and looking around and being like, oh, this happened over there or whatever. It's like, no, look at all this labor that's in front of me. Who gives a shit where I am?
But what's funny is like I don't give a shit about baseball. I don't care about baseball. So it was a unique experience, and to be able to say like I worked at Fenway is cool, but like lots of other people like definitely deserved working there more than me because they just cared about baseball.
Sounds like when I worked at South Fork Ranch, which is where they shot the exteriors of the Dallas soap opera show from the 80s.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, and there's tours that just revolve around the old soap opera TV show Dallas.
Sure.
Like that's the entire tour that you give. I'm never gonna watch. Obviously, never gonna watch a single episode of this old ass show.
I don't care.
Awful. I think they tried to reboot it too, and that failed. Or sequelize it or something.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the same thing of like it's a cool story, but like I don't care about any of that.
Yeah. I worked there for 3 years, and it was a cool experience just in general. But yeah, like I was getting paid minimum wage to do some pretty intensive manual labor. So, and at that time was like $7 or $7.50 an hour to do like manual labor. So, but yeah, so that's just a random thing about me. Like I worked at Fenway Park.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but yeah, Fallout 4 is cool. I'm having a good time. real side tangent there. And then real quick, I feel like I'm Tim right now because I'm dabbling in Supermarket Simulator. Supermarket Simulator. I feel like such a Tim
Press
right now.
X to put on shelf kind of a game, right?
Yep. So basically, I think it's in early access right now. Funny enough, we were talking about early access earlier, and I was like, oh, that early access is not my thing. But I saw there was a streamer playing, and I was like, that actually looks kind of fun. Like it just for some reason it does. And you basically are starting your own little convenience store, and it starts really basic, and then you upgrade things, get more shelves. I could probably make the space bigger and make my store bigger and have more things. Hire people,
the numbers keep going up. Pump those numbers up.
Right. We gotta get those numbers up. So
the only sim game I think I've gotten Jeff to jump in on was Arcade Paradise because it was unique and it included those little.
I like that.
It's because there's like a grind that, oh man, it tickles like an OCD fancy where you're like, okay, then I'm gonna go do this. Then I'm gonna do this. Like the grind each day.
That's a fun game.
Like, it's super fun. And of course you want to get better at the arcade games, but there's a daily like routine that you have to commit to.
There were times
at the laundromat.
The time keeps moving, and next thing you know, it's like 2 a.m. There's plenty of times when I like in the game was like, whoa, I stayed up way too late trying to beat this record.
Yeah, but that has more of an angle of like, well, there's the arcade stuff, Like I don't care about supermarkets, but like. There's just like a fun mundane loop there, which it's like I get it. I get it.
Dude, I totally understand that. I mean, I still think my favorite of all these like silly simulators doing real life work in a game thing is still Power Wash Simulator. There's something so soothing about just like seeing the dirt wash away. I don't know what it is. It's similar to like almost digitally painting. People like to do like coloring and painting digitally with their iPads and stuff. It's the same similar thing. It's just kind of like, dude, look at that. Look how clean that is now.
Yeah.
Look at that.
But I mean, that's the case in real life. And that's clearly why they made that game. Because there are people who like definitely express like, there's something really satisfying about getting this like old paint off of the deck or whatever, and then putting that new slab of paint on.
It's funny that they've even added the Final Fantasy VII content where you're cleaning off like the whole bar or whatever. And then there's also, they just added Warhammer 40K content too.
Oh, did they? You're like, well, now I gotta go back in there.
It's ridiculous. All right, guys, coming up this week, before we sign off, we've got games like, it looks like Dead Island 2 is hitting Steam. I didn't realize it wasn't on Steam, but that's going to hit Steam this week. Aiden Chronicle 100 Heroes comes out this week. It's $50, so it's not cheap. So if you do have Game Pass, that's the best place to try it out to see if it's your thing. But it looks awesome.
I'm going to support them like a real fan.
That's right. I should. I know. Tales of Kenzera Zao, which Jeff and I have talked about before. There's actually a Let's Play of this that just came up on our channel this past week. So you can go check that out if you want to see the opening 20, 30 minutes of that. That is coming out. That's only $18 on sale when that launches on the 23rd. There's a couple others. I'm gonna make sure I don't miss them here. We've got some of these titles in Steam are so stupid. Oh, Sandland comes out this coming week.
Oh yeah.
On the 25th. Manor Lords, which I mentioned earlier.
Jeff game.
Absolutely.
Manor Lords.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this week. So still relatively busy week, especially if you're a big fan of RPGs. Check out Aiden Chronicle. So yeah, looking forward to that, and hopefully Kyle will come back from the dead and join us next week. We'll see. Don't want to.
Can't wait to appropriately and fully clothed play Stellar Blade. I'm not going to do anything weird.
Stellar Blade is this week. Okay,
Yeah.
I was just looking at the Steam releases. That's the PS5 game.
Yeah, that's the PS5 game coming out. Same day as Sandland.
Yeah. Dang. It's actually a busier week than I realized then.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that one.
Yeah, it's kind of again, we're in a very disrespectful place to the consumer in the industry, and I'm very concerned about it.
Right back over.
Right? You know, I don't have time for this. Think about my wallet and my time.
That's awesome. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.